Aita for cutting his daughter off and taking away the things I was doing for her after she had some type of relationship with the woman her father cheated with. I, F29, usually stay with my boyfriend Carl M38 on weekends. He lives with his daughter, F16, when she's in due to joint custody. He works a job that he hates because he has no opportunities for growing his career, so 7 months ago, he started a company with an associate, Gabby F35. She's definitely successful and knowledgeable, so my concern was what would happen if she ever decided to cut him off. I'm mentioning this because his contribution to their association was to bring clients but not technical or anything. For the past 5 months, he stayed out late while working on their plans. I never had any reason for doubt or suspicion until he went to meet her on a Sunday afternoon. I didn't say anything because I know starting a business requires lots of effort, but it's odd to allow an associate to interfere with family life. 2 weekends ago, she showed up and berated him for cheating on her. We were hanging out at his place with his 2 brothers, Mil, his daughter, and Sil. Gabby showed up knocking at the door while Carl was in the shower. I started getting weirded out when his family seemed hesitant to answer the door. His brother finally went to talk to her, but she walked past him and confronted me. She asked about our relationship. I'll admit that I was a bit rude because I got defensive. His other brother went to get Carl and it all turned into a shit show. At this point, I'm disgusted and I don't know who was the real girlfriend and who was the side chick. Also, it's worth noting that she accused his family of betraying her. Carl remained vague when I demanded some answers and I felt like slapping him, but I controlled myself. She stormed out after an ugly exchange. I broke up with him that same day and haven't been able to find my way back into a good mental state. I can't believe anything he says, so whatever he explains will be a lie. This is where I might be the asshole. I made the decision to pull my support for his daughter. I had been paying for a makeup subscription box but cancelled it. She was getting her prom dress as a loan from a friend of mine who has 4 girls. I told my friend what happened and we agreed that his daughter doesn't deserve any of my help. I also kicked them both out of my streaming services and will not help with the history school project, nor will I keep her in my magazine subscription plan. Carl reached out trying to discuss what I'm doing about his daughter. He said she's just a teenager and she shouldn't pay for his mistakes. I agree that she has no power to keep him from doing bad things nor to keep him from being a liar. And I know that she wouldn't be in a position to warn me that her dad was cheating. But, she's almost 17, next month, and she's very mature and she's definitely capable of telling right from wrong, and she had 0 problems getting stuff and receiving help and favors from me and was comfortable asking for things. She's not a brat or the demanding type. She low-key asked for stuff and I was happy to help. I'm sure she also benefited from Gabby because it makes sense since I'm under the impression that Gabby was no stranger to her either. I told him, let Gabby do it, and he tried to complain about how Gabby vandalized their website. She took their page down and all it shows is a black screen. He says she locked him out of all the logins and supposedly had all her contacts block him. The only thing giving a little joy right now is imagining him naked and holding his balls out in the cold. Ida. My friends are divided over this, not because of him but because they say she's just a teenager. Top comments. Commenter 1, how long have you known his daughter? She knew her dad was cheating on you and didn't care enough to say anything. Also, you broke up with her dad. Do you have any desire to maintain contact with him, his daughter, or any part of his life? If not, then you did the right thing. You should inform her about needing to find a new dress so that she doesn't get entirely blindsided, only because that's a formative experience for teenagers, but you don't owe her any favors or further involvement. However, if you've been involved with raising her for years, you may want to reconsider your approach and wait until after the anger has subsided a bit before making any decisions about her. Just my 2 cents. Reply, I've known her since she was 15. I don't want to continue the relationship because I don't trust her, neither her dad nor anyone in their family. Commenter 2, it sucks, but why would you continue to help out someone else's kid? Tell the Carl that she's not your kid, so maybe her father should start paying for some of this stuff so she doesn't feel like she's being punished. Block him. It's not her fault, but it's not your responsibility either. Commenter 3, NTA honestly it sucks his daughter was caught in the crossfire, but if it were me I would not make a total clean break, which means both of them. Block cheating POS and move on. It's his kid, let him figure it out. She has a mother. Not your circus, not your monkeys. Commenter 4, NTA at all, she apparently learned from her family how to take advantage of people kindness, hopefully this will teach her a lesson. Especially if as you said she's a mature almost 17 years old, this is a lesson she needs to learn. Editor's note, OOP used a different name for her ex in the update than the original. Switching the names to the original post name for ease of readability. Update. Thanks to everyone who took the time to reply. I think the consensus was about his daughter. I will not be contacting her, at all. I reached out to Gabby via social media and she replied. I explained my position and that I didn't know about her, hence I was very rude and reacted with hostility. We exchanged messages. She says that initially, he told her that we were in an open relationship that was about to end. They were talking for months before they began their relationship. She says he first introduced his kid, then his younger brother, and that she met his mom when Carl invited her for lunch and had his mom show up without telling her. Also, she said that his mom was less than friendly and that his mother made a small scene because she decided to pick a fight with her boyfriend. He and Mil are currently broken up. There's no way that she's making this up. Mil treated that guy like shit. About his daughter, Carl used to visit Gabby on some weekends and would leave his kid at Gabby's place because they bonded over DIY projects. Now I know where his daughter got her fairy, witchy, fantasy, elf, polymer clay jewelry and hair accessories from. So I guess his working on weekend gigs was a lie. She said they became a couple about a month or two after starting their company because she wouldn't accept an open relationship. He told her that we were done when in fact, we never broke up, had a crisis, nothing. Gabby mentioned that her dad fucking hates him and that things began to get rough because of things he did and her dad noticed. She says she and her dad and other family members always meet for Saturday dinner or Sunday brunch at a particular restaurant and that her dad noticed how she paid for Carl and his kid, always. And if Carl ever paid for his food, he didn't pay for hers. She said her dad called her out because her dad would usually pay for everyone, his treat, his family, and that he was getting very uncomfortable about Carl. And that he paid for Carl to avoid making a scene but that he was fed up. So her dad told Carl he expected to be treated for a change, as a hostile joke, when they arrived at the restaurant and that Carl was very offended and later told her that her dad's remark was a put down. She also said that her best friend raised concerns about him and that everything started to crumble because he didn't attend her family's Christmas lunch as he promised and that he remained a bit low-key during the holidays and claimed to have influenza. He used both of us, but he took far more advantage of her because she made material things available and while I don't know her except for this situation, her messages show that she's very affected but mostly angry and I wouldn't be surprised if she ended up destroying him. She repeatedly mentioned that he deserved getting his life ruined. I didn't know that Carl didn't get an MBA like he told me. He never worked 2 jobs that he told me about and also put in his resume. She found out because she paid for background checks and other tools when things started not adding up. Supposedly, this was part of why she started testing his abilities and had been thinking about pulling the plug business-wise. She says it's all bullshit and that he's very insecure about his social standing. She told me a lot of stuff but in a nutshell, I'm going to get tested for STDs and already told my family what happened. I'm leaving it at that because writing about it really irritates me for being stupid enough to believe him. Thanks again. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, how do you get background checks done? Did she say what services she used? That seems like it should be done right at meeting someone nowadays. Reply, she didn't say but I'm assuming it may be a service used by HR companies. Also, she said that she corroborated his said graduation year to the public PDF document from that graduation in that university and his name wasn't there nor on PDFs 5 years back or 5 years forward. Commenter 2, this whole situation is a masterclass in why you should never ignore red flags. The dad lied about everything, his relationship, his job, his education, and somehow still had the audacity to act offended when people didn't cater to him. The daughter is just a casualty in all this, but wow. Imagine finding out your dad is not just a cheater but also a full-time con artist. Hope OP gets tested and then blocks everyone involved. Commenter 3, NTA. You were never stupid, he was just a master manipulator who juggled lies like a full-time job. The fact that both you and Gabby saw through him in the end says everything. Glad you're prioritizing yourself now, and honestly, he deserves whatever karma has in store. Stories number 2. Aita for telling my ex-husband I don't care what his girlfriend did to him. My ex and I are far gone but we also have kids so we see each other often. He complains about everything and believes I'm his therapist. I never cared what he talks about because it's irrelevant. My ex-husband, Kevin, and I have been divorced for 2 years now. We've been married since we were 23 but he had to ruin it. During our marriage I seen how far apart we were from each other. Kevin had a work wife named Jen. To be honest I never understood why anyone in a relationship wanted a work wife or work husband. I felt like that was disrespectful. Jen, 24F, I, 34F, Kevin, 35M. When Kevin was 26 he was in a bad car accident that led him to be paralyzed. He was still able to move around and continue working. He did have a brain injury which made him think slower than usual. He stopped understanding things. One thing I can say is that he did a lot of work in his wheelchair. he didn't like when people tried to baby him about it. At the time I didn't think anything of it because she was a coworker. That's when he would spend more time with her, brought her over for dinner. He missed our anniversary to go out for her birthday. By that time I knew something was going on, but I really had no proof. It was funny because Kevin revealed it for me. I seen his text messages between Jen, very sexual, you would have thought they were a couple. He wasted so many years together for this. We have kids, but clearly he didn't care. If he was happy with her, then good. Now we both cope a rent, but I mostly take care of the kids. They go to their dads, but they rather stay with me. Kevin and Jen are still together. They have a 4-month-old together. I found out Jen had to leave college because they had a baby. Recently Kevin has been texting me the thing him and Jen go through. They're having trouble in paradise. I would always ignore his messages because it has nothing to do with me. They need professional help. This happened again. Kevin told me Jen stole his credit card and left him with the baby. She's been gone for 3 days, so he doesn't know where she is. It's not my relationship, so he needs to figure it out. This the first time I texted back to his nonsense. I told him I don't care what his girlfriend did to him. Stop telling me your business. He said that he was hurt and I'm here being the asshole to him. Stories number 3. My 35M wife, 29F, came out to me as a lesbian yesterday and I'm shattered. We've been together for 10 years, married for 4. She was the love of my life, and the thought of living life without her is unbearable. Yesterday morning I woke up, noticed her sitting on the patio crying, so I obviously went to go console her and figure out what was wrong. While fighting back tears, she manages to tell me that she's a lesbian and she's so sorry. She isn't attracted to me anymore, but she also doesn't want to leave me. I've always known she was into women as well, but it was never an issue for me. We've had quite a few threesomes with different women over the years and they've all been amazing. I've even been fine with her exploring that side of herself with other women without me. I just wanted her to be happy and fulfilled. The entire day was spent either crying or talking about our now uncertain future. All the plans we had made about buying a home, travel, getting dogs and cats, retirement, went up in smoke. We had a fantastic sex life up until just a few days ago. We would have sex at least a few times a week and we rarely failed to get each other off. We experimented and grew with each other over the years, exploring new kinks and figuring out new ways to please one another. I told her I didn't blame her, that if she really is a lesbian it's not her fault and she hasn't really done anything wrong, but it doesn't make it hurt any less. She's my best friend. We have such a wonderful, supportive relationship and we've been through so fucking much together. I can't stand the thought of losing her and starting over. She said she doesn't want to leave me, that she still wants a future with me, just without the sex. But she also understands how unfair that is to me, so she's fine with me finding a fuck buddy or two if I want it. All I really want is her though. I'm so insanely attracted to her and I make sure to tell her so every day. She's the sexiest woman in the world to me, but finding out that attraction is one-sided has obviously shattered my heart and crippled my self-esteem. I don't know what to do. I'm certain most of the comments I get will be along the lines of move on, or the classic lawyer up, start hitting the gym, but I don't know if I'm strong enough to do that. I'm praying she's going to wake up and realize she made a mistake, that she's just overwhelmed and confused. Deep down I know that's not how this works, but the wounds are still so fresh I'm grasping at any little straws of hope I can find. We don't have any kids, all our pets have passed away, but we did just move into a new house last week, so we may be stuck together until next March at least. I just want my wife back. Comments. Commenter 1. I strongly advise finding a marriage couples counselor. You're going to need help navigating your next steps, no matter what they may be. Reply, we're definitely going to do that. We have had a few sessions in the past and it's always helped. Commenter 2. All I really want is her though. I'm so insanely attracted to her and I make sure to tell her so every day. She's the sexiest woman in the world to me, but finding out that attraction is one-sided has obviously shattered my heart and crippled my self-esteem. I don't know what to do. This is why you're going to have to eventually leave. It's too much of a burden to live with. Can you imagine every day, being so close to someone you love like that and being unable to be with them? Not just sex, I think you know what I mean. Can you imagine listening to her get off with someone else? It was hot when you were doing it as an activity together, but it'll be different going forward. Right now, you might be against hearing any advice to move on, and that's fine. But it's a special kind of hell you're about to enter. You won't even begin to heal until you've had a clean break and some time to process everything. Source: my brother's brother, his dad and another woman's kid, killed himself over something very close to what you're describing. Reply: I appreciate hearing each and every bit of advice I get. The more perspectives the better. Deep down I know you're probably right, but goddamn if it doesn't hurt like hell to even think about. Update. It seems like just yesterday I was mentally formulating a 1-year update for this situation and here we are at the 2-year mark. Crazy. This won't be juicy or drama-filled, no big revelations or tea to be sipped. Sorry to disappoint. 2 years ago, one seemingly random Sunday morning, my wife and partner of a decade chose to inform me she had come to terms with her sexuality. She was gay. I thought I had known heartbreak, seeing as how my first girlfriend went to visit her home country and never came back. She, instead, got married and had many, many children. Right up that random Sunday morning, that was the worst thing I had gone through. The hardest situation I had been forced to endure. Hearing those words come out of my wife's mouth, my entire reality unraveled in what seemed like both an instant and an eternity. I fought for 2 months to come up with some way for us to remain together. Any compromise. Any idea. Any situation. I would have done literally anything to keep her. Grief really can override any and all inherent reason or logic one may have. I now know we were doomed from the start, but I, obviously, refused to believe it. She officially ended it in May of 2023. The entire nightmare was amplified by the devastating cancer diagnosis my stepfather had been given, of which I was informed 2 or 3 days after my wife's admission. I want to highlight more of my stepdad in this update because he was truly an incredible, accomplished, kind, hilarious man. His name was Norman Armour. He was an artist, actor, director, producer, and founder of the Push Festival, an annual international performing arts festival in Vancouver, which just celebrated its 20th anniversary. He acted in some fairly big projects too. He played the officiate in Saving Silverman with Jason Biggs, Jack Black and Steve Zahn. He played the main villain in an episode of Supernatural, the ghost of an evil insane asylum doctor, and he played a literary enthusiast in Capote and got to share the screen with Philip Seymour Hoffman. Regarding that last role, I remember being a teenager and watching a lot of Conan O'Brien's Late Show. One particular night the guest was none other than Philip Seymour Hoffman, who was promoting Capote at the time. If you're unfamiliar with the talk show formula, actors will bring in clips of their latest project to promote it, and the scene he brought was Norman's scene. Norman had a monologue for maybe a minute and then Capote responds. I lost my mind. I wasn't even aware he had acted in Capote and there he is on my TV at 1 a.m. on the Late Show with Conan. He was so humble and worked in so many fields that he didn't even feel the need to brag about acting in Capote, or maybe he just forgot to tell me. He passed away in November of 2023. His celebration of life was held at the Vancouver Playhouse, a nearly 700-seat venue. There wasn't an empty seat. Not only was there nearly 700 in attendance, it was live-streamed to countless more. We should all be so lucky as to have that sort of turnout for our final send-off. My ex, her parents, and my current girlfriend were all in attendance. Now back to myself. Shortly after Norman's passing, I matched with someone on an unnamed dating app, who became my savior, my partner, my everything. I was in the worst place in my life at the time. Still suffering from grief, depression, newfound anxieties, nightmares and severe loneliness. I still had good friends and a wonderful family, but things were so up and down. I had been toying with the idea of ending it all. She changed all that. She was everything I thought my ex was, but for real. She is caring, compassionate, emotionally mature, honest, empathetic, way smarter than me, successful, incredibly talented, funny, and we genuinely enjoy every moment we get with each other. We inspire each other. We communicate. We have each other's backs. During the early weeks of everything happening, I was still working for a small glass fabrication company. But with everything that happened, I was clearly not myself, and my asshat of a boss had made it clear he didn't care what I was going through. He wanted me to show up, work my ass off and also train a team of new hires. I could barely get through a shift without crying, and he expected me to train these teenagers, one of whom barely spoke English. On top of that, I was still dealing with the ramifications of a devastating workplace injury where my foot had been crushed by a literal ton of glass a year prior. For broken bones, nerve and tendon damage, 6 months off work and I basically had to relearn how to walk. But that's a whole different story. I ended up quitting that shit show and went 3 months without employment. Until, through some good friends, I was able to score an interview for guitar quality control at a large music retailer. A dream job. I'm fairly lucky in the sense that I've never interviewed for a job and not gotten it. And I did get this one too. It was great, but didn't pay quite enough, so, after 6 months, I took a risk and transferred to a different location for a bit more money and shorter commute and the position of shipper-receiver. I regretted it almost immediately. Guitar QC was the chilliest, most incredible job I had ever had. I almost couldn't believe they were paying me to do it, but being a shipper receiver was god-awful. There were good days and bad, but the bad were terrible. I was kicking myself daily for taking this job, until this location's guitar technician decided to quit. I immediately threw my name in the hat and once again, nailed an interview for the position, which I got. I've been doing this since November. It's a dream come true. I have my own office. I get to fix guitars, basses, banjos, mandolins, ukuleles all day every day, and I have to constantly pinch myself to make sure it's all real. It vindicated my decision to swap locations. The universe put me through the ringer and finally decided to cut me a break. I moved in with my new partner earlier this week. It was really emotionally heavy to go through the last house and clear out all my stuff. Wandering through it, I relived every traumatic moment with my ex like it was an instant replay. Parts of it still haunt me, but not having to live in that space anymore has already done wonders for my overall mental health. So that's basically it. I went from, by far, the lowest point in my life, to the highest in a span of 2 years. I love my relationship, I love my job. I'm going to Vegas next week with my best friend and his groomsmen, and later this year I get to be best man at his wedding. My ex and I are still on good terms. I occasionally catch myself thinking hateful thoughts about her but really try to suppress them because I don't enjoy feeling hate. I want her to have a happy, fulfilling life. In my last update I mentioned starting a YT channel with a buddy, that unfortunately didn't end up going anywhere, but I have 2 new ones with my girlfriend that are already more popular, not mentioning their names though. Oh. There was also the nice little bonus of a $31,000 settlement from that work injury I finally received in January, that has eased a lot of the financial burden that comes with living in Vancouver. To everyone that contacted me with kind words, thank you. From the bottom of my heart. Thank you. I still receive messages about it to this day and I'm sorry that I can't respond to them all. To the minority that sent hateful stuff, please seek therapy or some sort of help. I couldn't fathom sending hateful messages to literally anyone, let alone someone already down and out. Comments. Commenter 1. Tell us the names. Reply, if this comment gets 50 upvotes, will do. Reply, well alright then. We have one channel where we make real music and art called James and Lou Chords and Colors, and another more popular channel where we make ridiculous AI music and silly videos called Pants Are Funny Productions. Stories number 4. I, 26M, proposed to my girlfriend, 26F. She said no because she doesn't think we know each other well enough yet. It's been 3 years. She doesn't want to break up, but I think she should know by now if it is a yes or a no. I do. I've known I was going to propose to her someday since our 4th date. I just never felt in a rush to do it and figured the time would come. We're young and having fun. My mom is pretty ill and she started passing on heirlooms to the family kids. Last month when she gave me her engagement ring, a very calm sense of focus came over me and I knew that ring belonged to my girlfriend. I left straight for my girlfriend's and proposed immediately. It might not have been the most romantic setting, but I didn't want to waste another minute without my mom's ring on her finger. Once she realized I wasn't joking, her response was underwhelming to say the least. A brief summary of her main objections, in order to the best of my recollection. We're still in our honeymoon phase. We've never had a serious disagreement and don't know how we'd be at handling that. We only share the good times and can't promise to be there for each other in bad times when we don't know what that looks like. I think us getting along so well is a reason we should get married. The good times will make any bad times worth it. We don't know if we'd be compatible living together, but we spend weekends at each other's house and have gone on many vacations. No issues that weren't easily dealt with have ever cropped up. We don't have a serious relationship, just a fun one. We don't confide the important stuff in each other. We don't rely on each other for emotional support. Her biggest example for this is that she didn't know my mom had cancer for a couple months, but I didn't want to deal with it. She was my escape from that. She also reminded me that when her grandfather passed, her friends were there for her, not me. I would have been if she told me she needed me. I didn't realize she had a hard time with it. She never said anything. She said she's not blaming me, just pointing out that it's weird both of us exclusively went to others for comfort. She said we've never really connected on a deeper emotional level. I don't see why we can't start. We have love, with a little patience the rest will fall into place. We've never really discussed our future and don't know what the other wants out of life. I don't think it really matters. If we love each other, we'll find a way to make it work. I'll support her in whatever she wants to do, and there's no dream I have more important than being with her for me. Married life comes with a completely different set of responsibilities and expectations from each other. We won't have the same easygoing, independent relationship if we commit to building a life together. We'll need more from spouses than we're exchanging as girlfriend and boyfriend right now. She doesn't believe I understand what that really means. I don't really see why this is true. It's our marriage and we can make it whatever we want. Also, I'm not afraid of increasing my commitment to her and being there for her. I want to. She can't help but wonder if this is some repressed grief response to my mother's illness. She thinks I proposed because my mom is sick and I want to make her happy. I gotta be honest, this one hurt. I've never known anything with as much clarity as I know I want to marry her. She said she's willing to start working on us forming a stronger connection, maybe even moving in together, but I feel like after 3 years she should know if I'm the one or not. Either she loves me or she doesn't. TLDR, girlfriend isn't sure I'm the one after 3 years. Is there really a chance the answer will ever be yes if it isn't now? Edited to add, when my mom gave me the ring she said, of all my kids you're the one I know will make the best decision with this. My mom knows me better than anyone and I believe her. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. It seems to me that she is right and totally being reasonable. Neither of you really communicate deep personal issues with the other. It's been all fun. Which is fine. But without going through problems together it's hard to know what the other people is truly like. When she said it right now, maybe later. She actually means it. Take this time to get more personal with each other. Don't be offended. If anything, it means she's taking it seriously, wanting to make damn sure you're the one she wants to spend the rest of her life with. Commenter 2. I don't know if anyone else is surprised, but I know I was when I read what OP's girlfriend had to say. Those are some really practical, level-headed thoughts, and OP, you conveyed them very well even if you disagree, so you deserve credit too. Listen, she isn't saying never, but that as is, you two have been coasting without figuring out if you two are on the same page as to serious life goals. You think she should know after 3 years, and generally speaking I usually agree with that, but given her reasons and your ages, I find her explanation reasonable. So what do you want to do? If you really don't buy her response, then walk away, because you think that if she doesn't know now, the answer is actually no. If you do take her seriously and you do want to marry her, she's given you a point-by-point list of ways you two can get to know each other better, e.g. cohabitation, talking about future goals, actually relying on each other for emotional support during hard times, talking about the practical nature of if you have kids and if you do who takes care of them and what religion you raise them, etc. Your choice, 2. Best of luck with the decision and your mother's illness. Reply, yeah well I'm glad I conveyed them well. They're all I think about now. It's like all the thinking I didn't do finally caught up and there isn't enough alcohol or cookies. Commenter 3. Can I ask you, what are you friends and family members' relationships like? I'm just having such a hard time understanding how you got to your mid-20s without realizing this barely speaking booty call relationship where you've never had a real conversation in 3 years is not a serious relationship that's next step should be marriage. Are you friends just all single? What are your parents like? How did it come to be that you didn't get an example of what a serious relationship looks like? Is this a cultural thing? I'm struggling to understand this. Reply, my parents are divorced but co-parent. I have some married friends but spend more with my single friends. I spend most of my time outdoors or with my brother. I like new experiences and seek them out a lot. Relationships just haven't been that big a deal. I work and play, she's the only change in a long time. Update, hey guys. So I didn't reply to a lot of the many comments I got but I did read them all. Most of them more than once. I know it's only been like a month since I posted but wow a lot has changed for me. Posting here made me think about a lot more than just my relationship with my girlfriend. There's a lot of changes I need to make in my life and I'm working on them every day. I've been resisting growing up for a while but I realized that if I want to get married someday I gotta start working on being an adult. Basically the biggest changes in my life is I moved in with my girlfriend and have my first real job instead of working for my dad. It's a trip, but a good one so far. Did you guys know you can fold a fitted sheet WTF? I'm going to school next year and am hoping to be a park ranger eventually. My girlfriend actually suggested it and I was kind of blown away that I'd never thought of it before. It's literally the perfect career for me. I never thought I'd be one of those guys who has a career and not just a job that pays the bills. I'm super pumped and I can tell my newfound ambition is a giant relief for my parents lol. After a series of really amazing conversations with my girlfriend I realized I had no idea how deeply you could love someone when I proposed to her. I was definitely in puppy love. Someone in my original post said something about slowing down and enjoying the scenery and I realize now that was exactly what I needed to hear. I don't know what my hurry is, there's a lot to experience before my mom's ring needs to make a comeback. I also really had no idea about my girlfriend's goals and life plan and see what you guys meant about that needing to be discussed. I've also been reading a lot of the books that people recommended to me and wow, they've been incredibly helpful in all the relationships in my life. They've also made it obvious how naive I was, you called that one. I'm very grateful and appreciative of all the help you guys gave me. Edit all the people who want a list of books will get it tonight when I get home. TLDR, put my mom's ring away, moved in with girlfriend, going back to school and want to be a park ranger. You guys rock. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I missed your original post but I'm so excited to read this update. That's great that you and your girlfriend are still doing so well and that you're growing as a person. Commenter 2. Good for you. I'm massively jealous of your ability to fold a fitted sheet. Reply. She's still way better at it but it makes me feel like a magician or some shit when I pull it off. Commenter 3. Hey. I've worked seasonally as a ranger and have a few friends who have as well, all in the National Park Service. None of us have any military experience, in response to a comment I saw in here. Feel free to PM me if you have ever any questions. I may be able to help. Good luck with that and your relationship. Commenter 4. My girl set me up with this park ranger who's been helping me. I'll reach out if something comes up, I really appreciate it man. Stories number 5. Aita My dad and his wife threw my mom's things in the trash and I took them back out and refused to give them back. My mom died when I, 17F, was 10 and my dad remarried almost 3 years ago. Last month my dad's wife got mad at my dad for keeping so many of mom's things or things that symbolized their marriage. He kept her engagement and wedding ring in a box, his own on a chain around his neck, my mom's postcard collection that she started as a kid, her favorite stuffy, a bottle of her perfume, her keychain, her passport holder, cooking and baking books she used to experiment with and a locket she wore all the time. My brother, 20M, and I got her jewelry and other items she had. They were shared between us after mom died and they're at our aunt's house for safekeeping. My dad's wife said she wanted all that stuff gone and the wedding photos and any couple photos of them and any family photos had to be put away if mom was in them. But the rest had to go. My dad fought back for like a day and then they started throwing all the stuff in garbage bags and they were brought out to the trash. When they weren't looking I took all of it and brought it to my aunt's to keep it safe. It took 2 days for my dad's wife to realize the trash was empty and then she and my dad realized I had taken the stuff. My dad's wife went crazy and said they were in the trash for a reason. I told her I wasn't letting my mom's stuff go like that. She said it doesn't need to be in her house and I said it wasn't anymore and she wouldn't need to see it. She said it was nothing but bad memories and they didn't need to be in her and dad's marriage. I told her she didn't need to worry and they weren't dad's anymore. Dad told me to just give the stuff back to them and they'd deal with it and I refused. His wife said she wasn't allowing that kind of disrespect in her house and dad said it'd be dealt with. They asked a few people if they had them and all said no. Including my brother, 20M, who let them know he thought they were both disgusting and he didn't want to talk to them again. When that didn't work my dad tried to convince me again and he failed. He said I was making it worse. My dad's wife told me she's my stepmother and more deserving of respect. I said she'll never be my stepmother, she'll never be my family, she's just my dad's insecure second wife who'll never be good enough to be seen as family by me or my brother. I told her I'm not giving them back. She tried to get the police involved and accused me of stealing but they brushed her off because I live in the house and took them from the trash so, she said I'm a thief and the most disrespectful kind there is. She asked was doing this worth hurting my relationship with them and I told her I didn't care about having a relationship with her to begin with. I told her she was nothing to me and to stop acting like she has some kind of real authority over me. I told her I was willing to accept whatever consequences they gave because I would be leaving ASAP and nothing she said or did would stop me. My dad stopped her from taking everything I own as leverage but he's still applying pressure. It's been annoying to deal with but could be way worse. But I came here to find out from outside parties if they think I'm wrong for what I'm doing. Aita. Stories number 6. Aita. I told my ex-husband I won't relocate so he can be closer to his girlfriend. AIT. My ex-husband and I got divorced 5 years ago. We have 50-50 custody of our 10-year-old son. We have always had an amazing co-parenting relationship and I even considered us friends. That all changed when he got a girlfriend 3 months ago. We have both dated and it's never been a problem. This time is different. I found out through a friend that he was dating a girl that he cheated on me with in the past. It stung a little, but I've moved on and this was over a decade ago so I let it go. We always agreed that if we introduced our son to a partner, we would let each other know. So after I was dating my boyfriend for a year I introduced him to our son, and I let my ex-husband know like we had agreed. The next week I go to our son's hockey game and I see his girlfriend. Not only has he not told me personally that he's dating her, he didn't tell me she had met our son. After 1 month of dating he introduced her to our son and never let me know. This caused a huge fight and nothing has been the same since. It's now been 3 months and he calls me today asking if I would consider moving 3 hours away. He says the plan would be that him and our son will move in with his girlfriend and I will get my own place nearby. I lost it. To preface, we live in our hometown. Our entire family is here and this is the only town my son has ever known. I said absolutely not. I'm not leaving my home, job, and family so you can play house with your girlfriend of 3 months. He's not allowed to relocate our son, so that's why he asked me to come too. He was so mad and couldn't believe my reaction. He said he knew I always wanted to leave our hometown so he didn't expect me to react negatively. Leaving my hometown does not mean moving 3 hours away with no friends or family to make his life more convenient with his long-distance girlfriend. He said he thinks this is what's best for our son and that he knows it would be hard to move away from family, but his girlfriend would provide him a loving and stable environment. He doesn't think it would be traumatic for a 10-year-old to have to move 3 hours away from everything he's ever known and also lose the life he had with his dad by moving in with a girl he's known 2 months. I said I would not even consider this for a second and am not moving and neither is our son. Is this a completely delusional and inappropriate ask of him or am I the asshole? He's gaslit me for so long sometimes I can't tell. Stories number 7. Am I wrong for no longer cooking for wife after she drunkenly admitted she wished her male co-worker could cook for her instead? My wife and I have been married for 7 years and together for 10. A couple years ago, my wife had a male co-worker who used to cook for the office often. My wife used to always rave about his food, and it admittedly made me insecure, also because he looked like a Greek model. I had also started cooking for wife around that time. I was never a serious cook, but I decided to give it a shot. Prior to then, I only used to cook basic food, but I decided to try cooking complex meals. However, a lot of times it didn't come out great. My wife used to help me, but I never was serious about it. One night, my wife was drunk and we just had a beef Wellington I had cooked. It was sort of a disaster, and my wife and I were both laughing about it. However, my wife then drunkenly admitted she wished her male co-worker could cook for her every day. I didn't fully grasp what she was saying as I was really drunk, but my wife realized what she said and she apologized. I told her it was alright, and that it was probably some attempt at joke. However, the next day, I grasped what she was saying, and I felt really deflated. My wife sensed it and apologized again, and after taking a day to think about it, I told my wife let's not make a big deal about it, but also, I was never going to cook for her ever again. My wife again apologized and almost started crying, but I told her it was all in the past, and let's move on. It's been 2 years since then, and my wife and mine's relationship is stronger than ever. Over the past couple of years, I have also spent a lot of time taking cooking lessons from my sister, who's a really good cook. I learned that cooking just takes a lot of consistent practice, and you can't just learn it over the internet, you need to acquire the skill. And I can now confidently say, I am a much better cook than I was a couple of years ago. I cook for friends, and for my family or my wife's family when they come over. The food I'm the most proud of and which I got a lot of compliments on is the Valencian paella I made when my wife's family came over for Christmas. However, in spite of the progress I've made, I can't find it in me to cook for my wife alone. I still remember the hurt and insecurity I felt a couple of years ago. My wife even stopped speaking to and taking food from the co-worker after that incident, and the co-worker has even left the company since. But I still can't find it in me to cook a romantic dinner for my wife. My wife has asked me a few times, and she says she's willing to do anything to repent or take accountability. But I tell my wife I've already forgiven her a couple of years ago, it's just that I cannot mentally bring myself to ever cook for her. Am I wrong? Top comments. Commenter 1, like others have said. It's time to put it behind you. Your wife made the effort and has been holding on to the pain of the resentment you feel for her for years now. You've grown as a cook, now it's time to grow emotionally and come together with your wife. Your wife yearns to be close to you. Reply, I am very emotionally close with my wife. It's just with this specific aspect, I can't bring myself to do it. My wife almost destroyed my love for cooking a couple years ago when she made that comment. But I was thankfully able to get over her comment. My sister said if you're emotionally vulnerable about something with someone and they shit over all it, never ever repeat that mistake again, no matter how tempting it might be. She also taught me cooking provided I kept my word that I would never cook for my wife again. So even though I love my wife a lot, my conscience will not allow me to cook for my wife. Commenter 2, you haven't forgotten or forgiven her. Therapy might help. Commenter 3, you're just lying to yourself, your wife, and now all of us lol. You have not forgiven her. Commenter 4, I think you're not giving your wife enough credit. She stopped eating what her fellow worker cooked, she has apologized and really wants that one close thing, enjoying an intimate meal you cooked just for her. You say you have forgiven her. No, my friend, you have not. You are still holding a grudge. I get that she hurt your feelings and made you feel insecure. But Gizo, 2 years? And you'll cook for everybody and their mother and still won't for her? That's cold. Update. Thank you all the comments on my previous post. Pretty much all of the comments told me I was very wrong and what I was doing was cruel to my wife. It was never my intention to be cruel to my wife, it was all about my mental health, but I understand now how it can be perceived as being cruel. I didn't want to make a big deal of it, so I told my wife this morning I would start cooking for her tonight, and make her a special dinner. My wife was very excited and hugged and thanked me, and I am nervous and excited and looking forward to opening this new chapter in our lives. I however reminded my wife again how she had almost destroyed my love for cooking a couple of years ago. I also gave my wife an analogy. My sister told me this morning to tell this analogy to make my wife understand the impact of what she said a couple of years ago. I asked my wife how would she feel if I drunkenly admitted to preferring hugs from Vanessa. Vanessa's my close childhood friend, because Vanessa has a softer and more feminine feel to her. I asked my wife if she would get over that comment even if I apologized the rest of our lives. And my wife admitted she wouldn't be able to get over that comment, and she apologized again for what she said a couple of years ago. But having said all that, I am really excited about tonight. I plan on making my wife lemon butter lobster risotto, and serve it with a glass of white wine. I hope to make it as romantic as possible and I hope it comes out good. That's probably my final update. Thank you all for the advice. Top comments. Commenter 1, wow. The Vanessa thing was weirdly specific. Commenter 2, it came from his sister as well. She's always had a hand in this. She's the one who told him to stop cooking for his wife. He really can't see what she's doing. Commenter 3, wrong analogy to use. You talk about finding your best friend more attractive than her and worst you talk about the way she feels when you hug her. What do you think your wife is going to think now every time she sees you talking to that friend, hugging her? That is unnecessarily cruel. She talked about liking the food of a coworker, you talk about liking the body of your best friend. You could have used a hobby as an analogy for example but you choose potentially but you have now put a seed of doubt in her mind. Commenter 4, years of punishment needed that cherry on top huh? Stories number 8. My husband changed the pin on his phone before hospital procedure. My husband was admitted to the hospital for health issues. He is young but was diagnosed with heart failure. A few days ago he had some chest pains and low blood pressure. I told him he needed to go in and 4 a.m. admitted. The doctor decided a procedure that would put him under was needed for answers. He had to leave his phone and belongings. His phone rang while he was out and I missed it, so I went to check to see who called and when trying to put in the PIN got the error that PIN was incorrect. I didn't expect that because PIN has been the same for 2 years. Am I overreacting and overthinking this PIN change? It was the same PIN 2 nights ago and now I'm worried that something is happening behind my back. Sure I know I need to talk to him but due to the circumstances I will need to wait a while until he is stable again. It's just weird you know. We've had issues with his infidelity in the past prior to marriage. I did forgive him. Please be kind. Maybe I'm just a mixture of nerves, lack of sleep and stress. I love him and I'm truly worried about his health. We have kids so there is a lot going on in our life. Stories number 9. Aita for refusing to go and standing my ground after my ex-friend and my ex-GF invited me to their wedding. Believe me I'm still confused and I don't get why I'm so important in this story. I mean it's an old story that I thought was past and buried but apparently not. So when my daughter, Sophie, she isn't mine biologically because she is the daughter of my best friend who died of cancer and her mother disappeared out of nowhere and never showed up, was 3 I was with an old ex of mine, Clara. After only 1 month of our relationship I caught Clara cheating on me with a friend of mine. I broke up immediately with her and my relationship with my friend. I blocked their numbers and every contact on social media. But to me that was it and I thought that it was the end but it wasn't. For years they tried to make peace but I always refused rudely and aggressively caused that pain and anger was always there. But now this thing just added making me think with what kind of weirdo I was for a month. At that time she was one of those who believed in karma, luck and all this mystic stuff but I never realized how much. Well a few hours ago I received a text from Clara inviting me to their wedding. It would be in 2 weeks, according to her it was a way to throw the past back and be a better person, but I just refused saying, absolutely fucking not and go to hell. I genuinely thought that my reply was clear and loud enough, but apparently it wasn't, and started a whole circus of drama and ridiculeness that is nonsense to me. Apparently in the last months they were always fighting, so they went to search help from one of those future readers, and according to him it was all because the bad karma I sent them for their betrayal. So if I don't forgive them and come to their wedding it would be a disaster. In this 2 hours my phone is blowing up with texts and calls from Clara, my ex-friend, and even their parents. They are all trying to convince me to forgive them and to go to their wedding. I'm currently replying to all their texts with just, "Go fuck yourself and go to hell." Of course I never forgave them and will never, so they can insist how much they want, but I will never do it. They even try the pathetic move to make me feel guilty by saying that if I don't do what they want, the disaster of the wedding and their marriage would be only my fault with my bad karma and malicious influences. Ahaha. I might sound cruel, but I'm actually enjoying all this circus cause their excuses are just so nonsense that is hilarious. They didn't try it with my parents or our friends cause they know what happened and they would never help them. But like always I had a talk with my grandma. She is my official psychologist and suggest or ahaha. But she said that since it's important for them I have to just accept and go, so this thing would end here. To her I must fake to forgive them but go to the wedding anyway, so all this pathetic story end, but I don't know. So here I'm asking you for your opinion. Aita, for refusing to be part of this nonsense, or I should just accept it so it would end once and forever even if I would never forgive them for real. Edit. Guys, some of you are evil with your ideas. I like it, ahaha. I'm actually divided between not going or going and applying some of your advices, ahaha. Anyway, some of you pointed out why I'm so involved with this story, and the reason is because the friend that betrayed me was one of my closest friends, and it's not about the Clara's cheating but because my friend betrayed me so easily like I was a stranger. This is what hurts the most. It's my friend's betrayal that hurts the most instead of the cheating. But don't worry that I would update you in the next days cause something big happened and I still don't know how to proceed. So thank you all for your advices and evil plans. I wonder why I didn't sign for Reddit before, because you guys would have made my life easier years ago, ahaha. Top comments. Commenter 1, it would be ludicrous to attend this wedding. NTA. Commenter 2, NTA. They are trying for you to go so everyone sees you there and assumes that you approve of then fucking you over with their lies and cheating. They don't want you there as guests. Guests get a real invitation to a wedding, not a text message, with RSVP, and it's usually months before the time. Even the most backyard wedding that is not a shotgun wedding has the invitations with quite some time before. Commenter 3, absolutely do not go. They're feeling guilty, and they're trying to make you the bad guy to avoid full accountability. Not your monkeys, not your circus, or not your chair, not your problem if millennial Hickey. Update. Today must have been a day focused on relax, calm, peace and fun, but it was all the opposite. Yesterday I had an outburst and I decided that today I had to relax and calm down before doing something stupid or worse. So yesterday at night at the last minute I organized a day in the mountains for skiing, relaxing and clear my thoughts, but I ended up in the hospital. See, this early morning when I parked my car at the hotel I fainted unconsciously in the parking, and it's the second time in 3 days, so something is wrong with me and I'm currently at the hospital seeking for answers. But this isn't all, unfortunately. 30 minutes ago I was with my grandparents, who's come to see me because they knew what happened, and while we were there talking, guess who showed up out of the blue? My ex-GF and my ex-friend. They tried to bluff the real reason why they were there, but when I saw them in the hall I already knew why. They went in person trying to convince me to go to their wedding because of the bad karma and all that BS I told you in the last post. But this time I acted quickly and smartly. After like 3 minutes while they were here asking me how I was, if it was something big and all this classic BS, I interrupted them and finally told them that yes, I will go to their wedding. Their expressions changed in like 3 seconds and they tried to hug me and thank me, but I aggressively told them to back off and stay back because I needed to rest and to don't have any stress. After that I told them to leave and make me know where they were organizing the wedding, the exact day and hour. My ex told me and I took note, and then they left. My grandparents watched me like I was a ghost and asked me if I for real was about to forgive them, but I told them of course not, and they asked me why the hell I accepted. So I told them that I accepted my job's promotion, and since it was an emergency they needed me in the new country in 8 days. At this point they understood and my grandpa gave me a pat on the shoulder telling me, "You fucking smart ass," with a smile, and after a bit more of talking they left. So yes, their wedding is in 10 days, but me, Sophie and our new entry puppy will be in another country at 4 hours, by plane, by distance. So of course I wouldn't attend, and some of you guys gave me advices on a letter to send them and I took the courage and will take ideas from your last post's evil ideas, ahaha. So right now I'm with Sophie and our puppy, and believe me I wish I could be there at their wedding just to see their reactions, cause it must be something special, haha. I will update you in a few weeks when I would be in my new country and when I had news from their wedding. Can't wait for it, ahaha. Top comments. Commenter 1, Bro played 4D chess while they were still trying to read the rulebook. Absolute legend move. Commenter 2, looks like karma came in a different form for you, hope you feel better soon and enjoy your well-deserved vacation far away from all the drama. Also, good job on standing your ground and not letting them manipulate you with their bad karma excuse. Commenter 3, best of luck and I hope they get to the bottom of your illness and it isn't something serious. I would also be asking myself who I knew that knew enough to tell them I was in hospital so they could corner you. As that person isn't your friend and the FT they knew so quickly it must be someone close to you. So make sure not to tell others about you leaving even close friends and family as someone's not got your best interest at heart. They saw you in hospital aisle as a chance to help the people who betrayed you. Best of luck and keep safe and avoid driving until you know why you've been fainting. Stories number 10. Ex-stepmom feels entitled to a relationship with me after 6 years of no contact and ruining my childhood after she got in trouble with a preacher for lying. I, 24F, am a child of divorce. My biological parents split when I was 4 years old. My mother started dating again when I was 7, a wonderful man and I love him to death, but my absolute idiot of a father dated several women between the time I was 4 to 8, half of that time he was in and out of my life as it was, but that's not what this is about. This is about his last girlfriend, his wife prior to his death. My stepmother, whom I unaffectionate call my ex-stepbitch, SB, walked into my life after she met my dad while she was in a woman's rehab group in my hometown where my dad and his Christian rock band played, very Bible Belt area of the southern US. I always had an issue with the women girls that walked into my life because of bullying due to my absolutely insane name that this man gave me as well as his first girlfriend after leaving my mother abusing me and my little sister when we were very young. Not to mention that the reason he and my mother divorced was because he was constantly on drugs, so I was very aware of what her rehab group was for, which made my skepticism even worse. She showed up one day when I was 8.5, I remember because it was summer and my birthday was in January. It was my dad's week, 50-50 custody, and dad was going to take me and my sister to our uncle's house to go swimming, but we were waiting for SB. It was that day that dad told me and my, at the time, 7-year-old sister that they were dating and had been for 3 months without saying anything to us. For minor context, my dad screamed at my mom for not telling him that she was dating someone, so there were issues in that for me. I distinctly remember looking at my dad, then at SB, then back at dad, and her again until I pointed at her and told my dad, she's going to do something bad. This was the beginning of our dynamic. Fast forward to not only my dad getting married to this woman but me being used by her as a test subject for her psychology degree. She never finished this, by the way. I was 11 at this time and playing in my bedroom with my sister and cousin waiting for lunch after church on Super Bowl Sunday of 2012. My sister and cousin were on the computer that was in my room because we didn't have enough TVs. They were playing Movie Star Planet, which was all the rage at the time, and were using the camera feature. When the flash went off I started to feel funny, to say the least. So much so that I started seeing red dots everywhere. I told the two of them and my cousin made the joke that I was about to have a seizure. And to my surprise, he was right. Now this next part one don't have much memory of, other than stories from my sister, cousin and dad telling me after I came to. Apparently the two of them ran downstairs to get a drink, leaving me on the bed until my dad came upstairs to get me for lunch. Apparently I was having a full grand mal seizure out of nowhere and my dad did everything he could think of to keep me from hurting myself while calling 911. I remember waking up a little in the ambulance and my dad telling me I was okay and I should go back to sleep, which I did. Next I knew I heard noises, one of those being, "Touchdown Patriots," and my dad cheering. The first thing I said after waking up was asking if he was watching the Super Bowl without me. That's when the room exploded. It was the first time since I was very young that my mom and dad were in the same room and not screaming at each other. Not the last, but that's a different story. I remember looking around after my eyes adjusted to see I was in a white room, a hospital room, still in my church dress that I was going to change out of after lunch and before the game. My mom and dad called the doctor back in to check on me and I was scheduled for so many different appointments after that, including a sudden re-entry to the hospital because we found out I was allergic to the seizure med they gave me while I was unconscious. This part was told to me years later by my mother when I was about 17. Apparently while I was passed out and getting tests done, SB, instead of checking on me, called our pastor to pray over me. He was a good man, but I now have nothing to do with the Christian faith because of SB and my dad. But because it was a smaller hospital and involved a child, it was only direct family allowed inside the room with me. SB told the hospital staff that she was my biological mother. We looked nothing alike and she was 28 while I was 11. When my real mom showed up, the pastor who was outside the room told her it was family only, and when she told him that she was my mother and thankfully one of the new nurses that showed up was a friend of my mom, she was let in and SB was kicked out. From what I'm told, SB got yelled at by our pastor for lying to him about my mother not having anything to do with me or my sister when in fact she was very involved in our lives. Hell, I was supposed to go to her house that day after she got off work, which was conveniently right after the Super Bowl. Anyway, after I was released from the hospital and my mom took me home to her house, things were okay. I was off school for a week because the seizure came out of nowhere and my primary wanted to have me come in every other day for checkups just in case. Things changed however when I went back to my dad's. I had gotten off school after my first day back, and while I'm doing my chores, which was washing dishes that day, SB came into the kitchen while my dad was in their bedroom playing World of Warcraft and told me that it was all my fault that the church is mad at her and she hated me for it. Again, I'm 11 and this 28-year-old woman is blaming me for her getting in trouble with a man she lied to. Not to mention that she and my dad would tell me anytime I was sick after the seizure, it was all in my head, or, you're overreacting, your pain can't be hospital level. My dad was a Navy veteran, so he always used that line whenever I was hurting, not realizing that medication I had been taking for years made my pain tolerance severely low. Ironically though, they were sort of right, explained further down. Since that day we absolutely despised each other to the point that no matter what I did I was getting Bible thumped. Even going so far as to make me late for an assignment for my freshman English class in high school because I made the mistake of claiming Greek mythology made more sense to me than the Bible. This still holds true to this day. I'm a practicing Norse pagan moon Wiccan. She even got so insecure about my blatant hatred of her that she asked me to show her my messages between me and my counselor that I was assigned because of dual suicide attempts. I was 14 at that time, and even I, someone who at the time was studying forensic science and had an unhealthy obsession with criminal minds and law and order, knew that was illegal as hell and told my counselor about it at our next session. That nonsense got shut down very fast. Thankfully she's been mostly out of my life since I was 17 when my father died of a drug overdose withdrawal-induced heart attack. She and my father had apparently been on drugs again, big shocker and a personal I told you so on my part, and subjecting me and my sister to the fumes, which made me violently ill for several months, and we didn't know why until Dad passed. The last time I saw her was 6 months after he died when I turned 18 and I got the one thing of my dad's that I wanted, which was a 12-string electric guitar, big music family. However, that wasn't the last time she tried to make contact with me. Recently, while I was in college, already stressed out because of more health issues that stemmed from the seizure incident coming up and the sudden death of one of my dad's 4 sons, SB started to spam my Facebook Messenger asking how I was doing, if school was going good, all this kind shit, only to yell at me for coming out as a demigirl, semi-no-binary that leans towards the feminine side. I was using they them at the time and she called me an abomination, which was strange because I didn't tell her or anyone else about this outside my college friends who were on the other side of the country from where she was back in my home state. Apparently my one brother, who still has contact with her for some reason, told her about me asking to be called sibling on our brother's obituary, thinking I still talked to this woman like my sister did occasionally. He was fully aware I hated her with a burning passion, but not exactly why. I'm not close with any of my brothers for various reasons, but that's beside the point. SB was tormenting me over the phone while I was studying for finals before returning home to get medical tests done. Come to find out I have epilepsy, autism, and a vein malformation in my brain that nobody cared to check after my seizure because the neurologist I saw in my home state at the time was an idiot and claimed I had the seizure due to low blood sugar, which come to find out is a massive side effect of the epilepsy and the malformation. I do have a blood sugar issue, but when I seize it gets dangerously low due to a plethora of other issues hormone and chemical wise in my messed up body. I now have to go to the capital of my home state after dropping out of college because of insurance issues and have a consultation with a neurosurgeon to see if they're going to put me through radiation or just cut the malformation out of my brain. I went to Facebook in order to warn anyone on either side of my family since my epilepsy was genetic and I'm the first to have it on either side, as well as update my cousins who I still have contact with in that part of the state if they wanted to visit. SB fucking commented saying I should go see her instead. I nearly screamed. I was so mad that she was still acting all lovey-dovey to me, but thankfully my boyfriend was able to calm me down enough not to do something stupid and commented himself that if any of my family wanted to stay in contact with me they will keep SB away from any information on my location and life. So far only my uncle, my dad's last living sibling, and his sons are the only ones who still keep regular contact with me, or my sister from my dad's side. I have little contact with my mom's family my entire life other than one of my 2 brothers on her side. I have my fingers crossed that the situation gets better before I lose my whole mind, but I have a feeling she won't come anywhere near me or our hometown because of how many bridges she's burnt here by hurting me and my sister. Small town, lots of motorcycle bikers, who happen to be family to us. I apologize for how long this is, I just had to rant. She's been ruining my life on and off since I was a kid, and I hope with this I can now have some peace away from her while I deal with everything. I am eternally grateful to my boyfriend for keeping me sane during all this stuff, as well as my younger sister and stepdad who have been helping me with appointments and paying for my medication while I work on getting my disability processed. Edit. Hey everyone, thanks for all your kind replies and suggests this is my first big post outside the Obey Me and Twisted Wonderland subreddits, so again thank you all. I said this in the comments, but for those who haven't seen. 1. SB is blocked and my family that are in contact with her are not in the loop on me in general because of distancing me and my sister from the family after my sperm donor died. My uncle is checking in with me regularly since he's a friend with my boyfriend's neighbor, so we see each other a lot more than we did just after dad died. He's been the one fielding questions for me as well as his younger son who I've been close with since I was a baby. 2. I appreciate everyone who has been telling their epilepsy journey stories. It's been very helpful knowing that I'm not alone in this. It's scary for me since I've never had surgery or anything like this in my whole life. I still have my tonsils, wisdom teeth ECT, and with both my bio parents gone I'm afraid. But thankfully I have an approximate timeline for my surgery, which is not until maybe August. By that time I should be moving in with my boyfriend and with his parents being just down the road, and will have retired by then. I'll have someone who can keep an eye on me while he's at work. All in all, things are getting better and I'm grateful. I'm super excited for later in March. It's getting warmer here in NE, Arkansas where I'm from, so it's perfect motorcycle weather, and I got to go on my first bike ride of the year the other day with the BF and it was magical. I'll get to go on my first full rally ride at the end of March and I'm uber excited. Let's just hope I don't have to run into another set of entitled angry parents to be who I haven't talked to in years. This is a reference to my ex who is an utter douche and his parents. The stories I could tell about them. Anyway, thanks everyone and I wish you all the best and all the internet hugs. Also, if you're in NEA, come by the Angel Run on March 29th. TLDR, my stepmother blamed 11-year-old me for her getting in trouble while I was having a seizure, and even after being no contact with her for 6 years she still wants to talk to me while I suffer with medical issues because her conscience is killing her somehow. Comments. Commenter 1. I'm sorry that you have endured all of this, but I have to wonder why you didn't block her years ago. You owe her nothing, and she is a nothing. Reply. I didn't want to stir the pot more. Though the funny part is I'm not friends with her on Facebook. My sister and dad's family are, and since my one cousin was tagged she saw the post. I don't use Facebook that much other than to watch reels and send stupid videos to my boyfriend, so I avoid it as much as possible, but I wanted to see my cousins after all this time. Commenter 2. I would block that bitch anyway. Life is too short to tolerate her bullshit. Your sperm unit is gone and she has zero rights to you. Reply. She is blocked now on everything. I'm doing what I can to avoid her. Thankfully right now I have my boyfriend keeping me occupied. I'm currently on his motorcycle having a good time. Commenter 3. Tell everyone to not tell SB anything. Make sure to block her everywhere. Hugs. I hope your medical team fixes you. Reply. She's blocked now as of my boyfriend's comment and I'm remaining NC with her as much as possible. Thank you for the well wishes, they're much appreciated. Commenter 4. My son had 4 brain surgeries between 2019 and 2023. We're in Florida. If you want to DM me, I'll give you the names and numbers of his epileptologist and brain surgeon. Reply. Sadly I have to do stuff in Arkansas, my home state, because I'm on state Medicaid, but I appreciate the thought. Update. Hey y'all, I'm back and YSH did things get worse. So for those who haven't seen part 1 of this saga, see the link above, but as a TLDR, my stepmother blamed 11-year-old me for her getting in trouble while I was having a seizure, and even after being no contact with her for 6 years she still wants to talk to me while I suffer with medical issues because her conscience is killing her somehow. This aside, as I mentioned in my last post, I'm supposed to go down to my state capital since I can't get anything done near me, which is 3 hours from my hometown. In the capital my father's former wife prior to his death, who I tend to call my ex-step-bitch, SB, lives in and out of rehabs because of her drug habit. Apparently the reason she's trying to get in contact with me is because her rehab told her to make amends with people she hurt. You know who the only person she hasn't been able to get into contact with is? That's right, me, the stepchild that she called not only an abomination but blamed for her getting in trouble and bullied emotionally and mentally from day one. Well, let me tell you guys, apparently this woman can't handle getting rejected for long. She came to my hometown and harassed my elderly uncle. Just so she could find out where I was, so she could have a sit down with me to go over what happened. First off, I don't think she came here just to do this. Her mother lives here and her younger creep of a brother is a street bum in our town who called me out while watching our Christmas parade with my boyfriend. It was super creepy since I haven't seen him in 7 years since he was sent to state prison just before my dad passed. Anyway, SB pulled every card she could, even stooping so low to have her MOM call up my younger sister, 23F, who works for a dog groomer in our town where she takes our old dog to get groomed. Now my sister knows I have no contact with SB and is respectful of that because after all these years she's come to grips with the trauma SB left me with that haunts me to this day, but she was blind to it because SB showered her with affection just to make me jealous. My sister and I are fine these days, but we did have serious issues growing up because I was neglected by both bio parents and SB since my mom thought dad was neglecting my sister and showered me, his baby girl, with love. In actuality dad avoided us both because of his obsession with World of Warcraft, that I later found out was his way of avoiding popping pills. Druggie's gonna druggie, am I right? Well, I was at my neurologist. I have genetic epilepsy and basically a tumor in my brain that I have to get cut out sometime soon. IDK when yet, and on my last post someone commented that it was possible that my epilepsy could have been caused by my dad's drug use, and it got me thinking. I asked my neuro about the possibility since I'm the first in any of my family to have the condition, and y'all, let me tell you, my neuro lost her mind. She started scrambling to get new tests done to see if it was true. Now for context, I was born as a sort of savior baby, that's what my mom called me, aka I was only born because my dad thought having a baby would keep him off drugs and my mom wanted to save the relationship because she really loved my sperm donor for some reason. Well, guess what y'all, neither worked. They got me and my sister, and when I was 4 they separated because, yep, you guessed it, dad was always high. He couldn't work because he fucked up his back in the Navy, so mom was our only source of money, and if you don't know anything about Arkansas, here's what you gotta. We have shit jobs unless you're a farmer, and our biggest employer is Walmart. My town specifically though, we have a lot of factories and bars, both of which my mom worked at during this time. Anyway, to tie these two situations together, SB heard about me having to get surgery because of a Facebook post I made to warn my cousins. She's been blocked on every social media I could think of, aka Facebook, since I don't have any others, and fingers crossed she doesn't have Reddit. Fast forward to after talking with my neuro this last time about the potential gene mess-ups, I was immediately sent to the hospital to get labs done, and y'all, oh my Lucifer, that commenter was right. I literally was born defective. Not only did the 3D meat printer skip some lines in my brain, that druggy dumbass was so high on meth that my literal genes are fucked. I didn't even know what to say. I started bawling, y'all. It was so bad that I was legit told that I was better off getting my tubes tied to keep from running the risk of having kids. Thankfully my boyfriend and I agreed to not have kids to begin with, since with my epilepsy and his family history of it we didn't want to risk passing it down, not to mention autism being passed from the mother, and I, a very high-functioning nonverbal autistic, would more than likely pass it down to any child I had. But like, this kind of thing really fucks with you mentally and emotionally. I texted my friends over Facebook Messenger about it because I was so upset. One friend legit got so upset on my behalf, she knew my parents including SB and was so pissed. She has 2 little girls of her own and told me she has no idea how she could survive knowing she could risk something like that to her kids. We ended up at a cafe in our town to catch up because I was really needing a matcha boba tea and she wanted cupcakes, so it worked out, and y'all, I nearly punched a woman in the face that day. SB was in the cafe. This fucking twat ran up to our table recognizing my friend, and the second she saw me she tried to hug me. Hug me. Y'all, I was having war flashbacks just seeing her. She kept talking but I couldn't hear her, I just saw her mouth moving until my friend tried to push her away. Guys, I fucking seized on the floor of the cafe. I was so stressed out by just the thought of this bitch that I collapsed. I had to go to the ER to make sure I didn't hit my head too hard. I got out that night and have been at my boyfriend's house since. I'm literally sobbing as I type this, absolutely terrified of leaving the house knowing she's in town. IDK, what to do, you guys? My boyfriend's been showering me in cuddles, snacks and matcha Dr. Pepper, while my friends, including the one who was with me, constantly checking in on me, and I appreciate it, but I already struggle with going outside as it is with severe agoraphobia, but now I'm so scared to be anywhere in this already godforsaken town. Sorry about this, you guys, I just needed to vent. It's so scary for me and I needed to get it out before I lost my fucking mind. I'm so grateful to the click on YouTube keeping me occupied with all his streams lately. They've been really helpful when I can't focus enough to work on my fanfiction or drawings. Comments. Commenter 1. Holy moly, what a crazy life. OP, I am happy for you that you have made it this long and that you have friends for which you can rely on for support. You could try to seek advice at a local domestic violence shelter or through legal services to put a restraining order on SB. I hope the knowledge of your condition makes the path forward better for you, and I know that no matter what you can and will find a way. Reply, I appreciate the kind words. My uncle and stepdad are working on talking to people in our town to figure out what to do, but it's still scary. I've never had to deal with stuff like this, especially since she made it clear to me when my dad died that she'd never come back into my life, but yet another promise she's broken, I guess. Commenter 2. Either way, if she persists I would file a police report and start the documentation. She can't force you to open up to her even if what she says is true about trying to get better. Don't let her chase you out of your space. Commenter 3. This was my thought. Restraining order or anti-harassment order. Contact her rehab program and tell them that their advice to make amends now has her stalking OP to force contact. Reply, my friend said the same thing since it was the same rehab center her dad went to years ago. Apparently they're really big on the pushing of making amends. It worked for her and him, but they still were in contact when he went in. Me not so much. Stories number 11. I, 37M, want to try and get back with the one who got away. 36F. Is there any chance of that happening? I've been tearing myself apart just thinking about her and how things ended. I can't stop no matter how much I try. This is going to be a long post, and I know I'm writing a lot of rambling and nonsense. When I, 37M, was 20, I met the most beautiful woman, Lila, who was 19 at the time. She was both inside and out. She had the most gorgeous dark brown hair that looked red and purple when the light hit it just right, these golden brown eyes and lashes that looked like a doll's, freckles on her rosy plump cheeks, and a single dimple when she smiled a certain way. She was a year younger than me, but yet she was always so much smarter and mature in every aspect. We dated for 2 years. I met her parents, and her no-nonsense cop father definitely gave me the stank eye at first, but he grew to like me. Her mom adored me right off the bat, always commenting on how my green eyes complemented her daughter's golden brown eyes in the most romantic way. I still don't fully understand what that means, but I liked the compliment. Her younger siblings loved playing in the backyard with me. She met my parents and my 2 brothers, and they all loved her right off the bat. My younger brother was the same age as her, and they were going to college together and would help each other study in some of the shared classes their majors had. Hell, even my 6-month-old dog I had adopted before even meeting her seemed to like her more than he liked me. She told me her dreams, how she wanted to own a home that was tucked away from everything but not completely isolated. How she wanted to be a doctor, and that she wanted to help people. She wanted to be a pediatrician. She loved kids. She always said she wanted a family. She didn't care how many kids she had, she just wanted to experience the ups and downs of motherhood. She wanted the good, the bad, the ugly. I listened to her go on and on about baby names and how she would design a nursery. At the time, I thought I wanted kids too. I wanted to marry this girl and give her the family she so clearly wanted. She was my Lila, I wanted to stay with her forever. I was young, but I was in love with her. After 2 years of dating I started to realize that I didn't want to have kids. I thought I was just being around too many of my bratty cousins and that was turning me off from the idea. But the more I thought about it, the more the idea of having to be a father made me sick. I would get headaches and my stomach would twist in knots thinking about having to take care of some screaming, crying and shitting little thing, and then have it grow into a tantrum-throwing toddler, a bratty child, and then some moody teenager. I didn't want to be held down like that. I wanted to travel, have money, be free. After a few drinks one night, I ended up telling all of this to Lila. I remember she went quiet and simply said, I won't try and change your mind, but I'm not giving up my dreams. I remember scoffing and rolling my eyes, telling her that we weren't going to have kids. She stood up from the couch, and said, you might not want that anymore, but I still do. I'm not going to try and force either one of our minds to change, then one of us will end up miserable. I realized she was breaking up with me, and even though she was so calm and mature about it, I remember feeling so angry. She was walking around the apartment gathering her things and being completely silent. I kept arguing with her, trying to change her mind. I kept telling her that it was stupid to want kids, that they were annoying and a waste of time. When she still didn't budge, I started to insult her. I said she was stupid, that she was a weak woman for wanting to be a mom, that she should just give up on being a doctor so she could push out her brats. Lila finally started to respond to me, telling me to calm down, that we simply wanted different things in life and that was okay. I hated her in that moment, that she wasn't agreeing with me. I remember punching the wall of our apartment, kicking a door, throwing anything I could get my hands on. She watched me wreck our living room and kitchen, not saying a word. She walked past me and left. This whole thing happened over a few hours. In less than a day I lost the love of my life, and my apartment was now trashed. Of course, news of why we broke up and my reaction to it reached my family. My mom cried hearing how I reacted. My dad gave me the coldest look I'd ever seen. My brothers both said I was an idiot, with my younger brother saying I was lucky Lila hadn't called the cops on me during that. That was 15 years ago. I've tried to have relationships since, but they never lasted more than a few weeks. I travel around for work, but now I'm back in the same town Lila lives in. Lila got married, got her doctorate, had kids, and is still a pediatrician last I heard. I know my younger brother still kept some contact with her in the first few years after the breakup. He even invited her to his wedding, but she declined because she didn't want to cause drama. I'm back in her town, the town we both grew up in, dated in, lived in, and where she currently lives. I can't stop thinking about her. I miss her so much right now. I miss her sweet perfume that smelled like a bakery, her strawberry shampoo, the way her hair looks in the light. She's 36 now, and I want to reach out to her and make amends with her. I want to hold and hug her one last time, to tell her I love her and I'm sorry. I don't know if that's a good idea, but a part of me needs closure. I don't know what to do. I want to sweep her off her feet and have her be my love again, but I don't know if that ship has sailed already. I have a date with my ex tomorrow and I'm nervous. August 11th, 2024. I recently reached out to an ex-girlfriend of mine to see about meeting up and catching up on life. I didn't expect her to respond to me, as we ended on bad terms. She responded, we ended up messaging for a while and did some catching up. I finally asked her if she'd be willing to see me in person, and said she'd be willing to meet up with me. I'm over the moon, but I'm also nervous about going on a date with her. She's 36 and I'm 37, and our last time being on dates with one another was close to 15 years ago. Our date is tomorrow evening after she gets off work. I'm scared I'll mess things up again. I already feel like she's being too generous with me by even agreeing to speak to me again, let alone see me in person, but I'll take any chance I can to try and make things right with her. I can't shake this horrible feeling in the back of my throat that I'll mess something up, that I'll just end up more heartbroken than before. That I'll come on too strong and she won't want to see me ever again. I've bought her favorite flowers for her, I've already made sure to start re-wearing her favorite cologne of mine from all those years ago. I've been practicing what I need and what I want to say to her. I have no idea how this date's going to go, but I just need to type out these feelings of nervousness I have. Update. Following my last post, I reached out to Lila. I had to. I know a lot of people wanted me to never contact her again, despite how I wanted to make amends with her. So I reached out to her, and she responded and we chatted back and forth a bit. After a bit of this, I asked her if she wanted to meet up, and basically let her set all the ground rules. She agreed, and 3 days ago we went out on a date. She is just as beautiful as she was when we were together. Her figure filled out, and she finally lost the baby fat on her face, but she was still the same woman I fell in love with all those years ago. We sat down and talked. I didn't want to talk much about myself, but she asked about my life so I had to. She asked about my job, my family, how I'd been. Typical catching up stuff. I'll admit I was zoned out for most of this, and I was operating on autopilot to keep my nerves from taking over. I just wanted to grab her and hold her, kiss her, make her mine against. I don't think I realized just how much I missed her until she was right in front of me. Finally, when she was done asking about me, I finally got to ask about her and how she's been. She got married 11 years ago, so 4 years after our breakup. She has 2 daughters, an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old. I saw how happy she was when she talked about them, and I couldn't help but feel jealous and guilty. I should have been the one to have children with her, but I was stupid and now she had kids with someone that wasn't me. I asked about her husband, and turns out she's a widow. He died 7 years ago while she was pregnant with her youngest. It was unexpected, according to her, but that she's done her best to move on and hold herself together and appear unaffected by it all for her daughters. I asked her if she was seeing anyone, and she said no. I asked her if she ever thought about me after our breakup, and she got vague with her answers. I told her she could tell me blunt what she was thinking. Lila said that she was very depressed after our breakup. She had built a future of us in her head, and she felt like I broke it on a whim with no warning. She said she lost her first real relationship and all the dreams she had with me when we broke up. She admitted that she had been so attached and in love with me that for a while she almost tried to convince herself that she didn't want kids, but no matter what she did she couldn't stop herself from wanting to be a mom, and she knew that if she gave that up voluntarily she would be miserable for the rest of her life. I asked her if I scared her that night, if she felt threatened by me at all. She said the yelling overwhelmed her, and while the commotion frightened her, she wouldn't say she feared for her safety or life, so that gave me hope. I apologized to her about how we broke up, and told her I had regretted everything I did and said that night. She said she had moved on and forgiven me years ago. She always was a very forgiving and kind person, part of the reason I fell in love with her in the first place. I asked her if she was willing to give me another chance and let me back in her life. She was hesitant, and got quiet for a moment. I could feel myself panicking when that happened. She said that she didn't mind me being in her life, but that I'd have to regain her trust in order for her to consider even trying to date me. I was disappointed, frustrated, and very disheartened, but I knew if I came on too strong she'd turn me away completely. I told her I'd be happy to be in her life any way that I can, and that with her permission I'd be working to prove I deserved a second chance at romance. I'm happy to have Lila back in my life, and I'm going to work on proving to her that we should get back together. I hope that we can have the family and life she always talked to me about. I know there's still time, but the clock is ticking on it. I'm hoping that one day I'll be posting for advice on the family we'll have together, if all things go well. Unsure how to proceed in my relationship. September 8, 2024. Should I ask her to be my official girlfriend? So me, 37M, and this woman, 36F, have been seeing each other for a bit under a month now. It's been casual meet-ups and dates, no sex as she wants to wait. We used to date in the past, broke up, but now we're seeing each other again. Is it too early to ask her to be my official girlfriend again? I feel like we're acting like a couple without the label, which is frustrating. I've met her kids, and given them a handful of kids to and from school. I've spent the night at her house once. I bring her flowers to her work and to every date we have. I feel like we're a couple, so is it appropriate to ask her to be my official girlfriend? My girlfriend is pregnant. She's happy about it. I'm not. February 28, 2025. It was just casual dating for a few months, and we've only been intimate a few times. She isn't on any birth control, and she made it clear she wasn't going to get on any, so if I wanted to be intimate with her it was going to be on my end. I was stupid and didn't use protection, and now she's pregnant. She's only about 4 weeks, caught it during her routine blood work at the doctor's office. She's surprisingly optimistic about this. I am not. She's already thinking ahead and planning about putting parts of her paycheck aside to prepare for the baby, and has already started to eat a bit healthier. I don't think I want this. She has 2 kids from a previous relationship that I like enough, but I don't think I can deal with a baby and toddler stage. She keeps telling me that it'll all be okay, that everything happens for a reason and the universe had a plan for this, but I'm getting real tired of that hippie bullshit. I just wish I could go back in time and stop this whole thing from happening. How do I talk with her about this? She's already so happy and attached to this thing, but I just feel panic whenever I think about this thing being born. I need advice quickly. Stories number 12. Aita because I don't want my half-brothers to come on a trip with my uncle and I, 15M, and 3 older half-brothers, twins, Max and Jake, 18M, and Shane, 16M. We have the same mother but they have a different father. Max, Jake and Shane's father is very involved in their life, and they live with him every other week. On the other hand, I have a deadbeat absent father that I never see. I have no relationship with half-brother's father. My half-brother definitely do not treat me the same way they treat each other. I have friends who have older brothers who are supportive and hang out with them and are there for them, and mine are nothing like that. Often when Max, Jake and Shane are at their dad's I spend the weekend with my uncle, mom's brother. Because of that my uncle and I are very close. One of the things we do together is watch NASCAR, since he's made me a fan. It's our thing. As far as I know my half-brothers don't watch NASCAR, I've never watched a race with them at least. Next week Max, Jake and Shane were supposed to be at their dad's. My uncle was going to take me to the NASCAR race in Atlanta that weekend, just him and I. However, my brother's dad has had to go away on some business trip I guess, meaning they aren't going to their dad's next week. Since they'll be here, my uncle also invited them to come to the Atlanta race with us. I don't want them to come. When they went to Europe, or Florida, or skiing, or New York, or any of the other trips they take with their dad I don't get invited. They go away with him 2 or 3 times a year. I've never been away because my mom can't afford it. This will actually be my first time on a plane. They get everything. This is one thing I had, just my uncle and I, and he just invited them. Since they're going I no longer want to go, and I'm considering telling my uncle that tomorrow. When he told me they were coming he could see I wasn't happy, he knows how I feel about my relationship with them. But he said since they're home he can't not invite them, it wouldn't be fair. But it's not my fault their dad is going away. I know my uncle can't uninvited them now, so I really think I just prefer to stay home and not go. Wibta if I told my uncle I don't want to go and instead stayed home. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I don't think that you would be the asshole, but I think that you would be unwise. You seem to feel sad that you are left out. And that makes sense. But one of the reasons that they are closer to each other than they are to you, is that you guys don't have as much time together. I'm not saying that you will come away from this trip best friends, but you might be closer than you would have been. It sounds like you are angry about being excluded, and your solution to that is to exclude yourself further. That never works. It's a classic instinct, and a lot of people do it. But those people end up lonely and angry. Unfortunately, in order to have fulfilling relationships, you have to make yourself vulnerable. And that involves risking rejection. You have to put yourself at risk of rejection all the time, otherwise you're just gonna be alone. Have you ever talked to them about the fact that you feel left out? If not, you might want to try that. You don't have to ask them to pay more attention to you, but you could simply say, sometimes it's hard for me, because you guys are really close, and I don't have that. Sometimes I wish that my brothers felt more like regular brothers. Important. You don't say it like you are mad at them, you say it out loud like you want them to know because you care, and you wish that you could be closer. And then, the key is, you don't ask for anything. You just tell them how you feel. And you don't sulk. You laugh at their jokes, you are kind to them, you treat them like you would treat a friend. That's how you make friends. You have to treat them like friends. You can't sulk your way into a friendship, and you can't isolate yourself into brotherhood. If you have already tried these things, and it hasn't worked, then, by all means, stay home. Then, if you tell them honestly how you feel, and you are kind to them, and you put in some effort, and it doesn't work. At that point, you could completely separate yourself from them and not have to feel guilty or responsible for it at all. At that point, they are the problem and not you. But until you try those things, you will be part of the problem. You have to understand that they are also dumb teenagers, and they might not understand how you feel or have the maturity to care about how you feel. And that sucks. But you won't know until you give them a real chance. If you give them a chance to know how you feel, and an opportunity to try to fix it, and they blow it, then it's on them to seek forgiveness when they eventually gain the wisdom to realize they were wrong. So basically, I don't think that you would be an asshole, but I think you would be one step closer to being a lonely guy who created that situation for himself. Help yourself by being the most kind, honest, open person you can be. Even if it doesn't pay off this time, practicing those skills will eventually pay off a lot. And if you do go, you can still just try to have fun watching NASCAR with your uncle, who you love very much. He's in a tough position and is trying to create something that's good for everybody. He's having to compromise right now. And he's doing it in a really nice way, by paying for a bunch of people to go on a cool trip. It might be worth trying to support him. Also, I know this sucks, but it doesn't really matter that they get more stuff than you. That's just how life works. Some people get more stuff than other people do. It sucks, but they aren't old enough to know better yet. And it's not their fault that they have more than you. It's not your fault either. Sometimes things are just unfair and all you can do is try to be as kind to everyone as you can. Reply, I appreciate the advice. I guess I've never directly spoken to them about how I feel, but I figure that they know. I mean, they are pretty obvious about not inviting me places. One-on-one they can be okay, but if it's two of them or all of them they just go off by themselves. I ask to do stuff with them, they say no, so I stopped asking. I know our mom has talked to them before and our uncle has, but it didn't really change anything. Maybe they'd include me for a couple days and then it's back to doing their own thing. So I guess I haven't really been fully open with them, but I think they know. I am thinking about trying it, like you said. OOP if his half-siblings ever bullied him before, TBF I wouldn't call them bullies. They don't pick on me or beat me up when no one's looking. They just usually don't include me. Commenter 2, you are only 1 year younger versus the youngest half-sibling, do they resent you, did your mom cheat? It's not your fault but their dad isn't related to you but your uncle is related to all his nephews. Reply, I guess my mother cheated TBH. They got divorced a couple months after I was born. However, I don't know if my mom and their dad were still in a relationship when she got pregnant, maybe they had already separated or maybe he had already moved on, I have never asked and don't think I want to know. Timing would suggest she did cheat, but I can't confirm. Commenter 3, even kids can do the math and realize that their parents were together if mom and dad divorced a few months after Op was born. If Op didn't care about trips his siblings go on with their dad and realized they are irrelevant to him then he never would have used them as an example. It does bother him or he wouldn't use them as a reason to exclude the older three. Because that logic doesn't work. The older kid's dad isn't his dad. But the uncle is all of their uncle. Op can pitch his tantrum and not go. He can miss out. The uncle has decided that he won't leave out the other three just because Op has some possessive thought about the uncle. At the end of the day whether Op likes it or not the uncle isn't his father. His father left. His mother is the reason behind most of this. Reply, I mean yes I'm jealous of the trips they go on with their dad, that's very true. However I don't expect to be included in those trips. I mentioned it to point out a trip isn't a big deal to them, they've been across the country and to Europe, while I've never been on a plane. It's not like my uncle is taking me on a once-in-lifetime vacation that they haven't experienced. I understand that our uncle isn't just my uncle, however, so I've accepted they'll be there I guess. Commenter 4, yeah, this is really too bad. I'm sorry OP. The trip you thought you were having is no longer the trip that's being offered. I also wish your uncle had talked to you first, but he is trying to do the right thing here. All that said, I think you should go on the trip. Don't deprive yourself the fun. This is a passion you and your uncle share. Don't have your brothers come home talking about having seen NASCAR live, which is your thing not theirs. Maybe it will be a bonding experience for you all, maybe it won't. Maybe your uncle will take you somewhere again, just the two of you, maybe he won't. You should confide in your mother more. I know she's doing her best and she can't make your bio dad step up, but she should know how much the fact that your brothers all have two families hurts you and excludes you. I'm really sorry for that. But all that said, please accept this trip and the experience your uncle designed for you. You need to adjust your mindset that it's a group thing but make the most of being there. I heard NASCAR's crazy cool in person. Reply, definitely don't want to damage my relationship with my uncle. For what it's worth, I also don't want to make my relationship with my half-brothers worse than it is either. Update, AITA, because I don't want my half-brothers to come on a trip with my uncle and I. After reading the comments, I realized it wasn't my place to ask my uncle not to invite my brothers, as he is also their uncle. Also, if I chose not to go, it would just be denying myself something I really wanted to do and would upset my uncle, which I didn't want, so I decided to go to the NASCAR race. I also decided against saying anything further at that time. The days before we left, it felt like my brothers were being nicer than usual, so that was cool. They added me to their group chat so that it would be easier to keep in contact on the trip, the reason they gave. I roomed with one of my older brothers, Max, in the hotel. On Saturday we went to the racetrack for the first races. I was getting food when I accidentally cut the line. I thought the people standing in front had already ordered. Someone pointed it out to me and I went to the right spot in line. There was a guy in line who was super mad, going on about how I was a little asshole and only apologized because I got caught, and he walked up to me yelling. And then Max appeared and told the guy to calm down and to stop yelling at me. He kept yelling at me and Max stood between me and the guy and told him, if you say another thing to my little brother we're going to have a problem, and the guy finally backed off. I've never seen Max as mad as he was right then over that guy yelling at, and it mean a lot the way he jumped in. Back in our hotel room that night I was thanking Max again for standing up for me earlier, and he told me as his brother he'd always do that for me. It seemed like the right moment, so I finally took the advice and opened up to him. I told him that I wished me, him, Jake and Shane hung out more together, and I'd like doing more stuff with him and them. We talked for a long time about our relationship. Max then talked to Shane and Jake, because the next day they both apologized for me having felt left out as well. When we flew back home Max had told Jake more of what I had said. He asked me if he could first. Jake and I went out on Tuesday and talked about it a bunch, and he kept apologizing for letting me down. I told it was probably mutual and I didn't act like I wanted to spend time with them, but he told me he was my big brother and should have been better. We've all agreed to do better going forward. Kind of funny that it was a drunk guy yelling at me which got me to open up in the end. More relevant comments. Commenter 1, thank you for taking the time to update. I've been wondering how everything went. I'm really glad you enjoyed the racing and, also, that your brothers will try to include you more. Cheers, mate. Reply, the races were so cool to see in person, my driver almost won on Sunday too. Commenter 2, I've noticed that a great way for family to mend an issue is coming together because of an outsider. I think it takes them to bring out the sense of us. Reply, I've never had a stranger shout at me in public like that before. I'm glad he walked away after Max said that because I'm pretty sure Max was serious about there being a problem if he shouted at me again. Commenter 3, congratulations OP. That's amazing. My only advice is to keep actively working on the relationships. There are no roadmaps for half-siblings. Coming from a toxic situation where I have two half-brothers from different mothers, it was hard, especially because my mom worked so hard to make sure my life was so stable, while my brothers had a much more tumultuous time. I had no idea how much resentment my brothers had built up over the years because I got to go home to somewhere safe. We weren't rich. We had no big vacations, I just wasn't abused at my mom's place like my brothers were abused at their mother's place. We were all abused at my bio father's place. We are working on our relationships now. But it's a hard road. So I'm glad you are starting now. And that your brothers are so supportive of you. Reply, yeah, it will take work. 1 week can't fix everything, but it's good to start. Stories number 13. Aita for sterilizing myself against my partner's wishes. I need some unbiased outside opinions because I truly feel like I'm going crazy dealing with this situation. I, 28F, and my partner, 28M, have 2 children together and have been married for 8 years. For those 8 years I've either been on birth control when we were preventing pregnancy or tracking my cycle when we were trying to conceive, adding this just to give the community the context that reproductive responsibility has always fallen on my shoulders. Recently we discussed the possibility of being done with children since we have our 2 and the family really feels complete. My partner is in agreement that a 3rd child is off the table for him as well. So with that I thought, great. I can bring up sterilization for either him or I. The reason I wanted this is because I've had every form of birth control before and none of them ever left me feeling 100% okay, so I wanted to be done with birth control completely since we both agreed we're done. It's been about 3 months since our talk about more children, so I brought up either getting a vasectomy for him or me getting a salpingectomy, removing my fallopian tubes. What I thought would be a productive conversation completely blew up. He outright refused a vasectomy, and when I was okay with that and said I'd happily get a salpingectomy, he completely flipped his shit on me, screaming at me about how he forbids it from happening and he won't allow me to damage myself like that. I ended up just leaving the conversation and headed to get our kids from school, but on the way I ended up calling my gynecologist to schedule a consultation for the salpingectomy after making sure I won't need my spouse's approval. So Reddit Aita if I go through with the sterilization against my partner's wishes? Update, Aita for sterilizing myself against my partner's wishes. Due to the support and advice I found on here I managed to get the confidence and level headspace needed to try to have another conversation with my partner. After getting our children to their school daycare for the day I went to our local coffee shop to pick us up each a cup. I figured it can either be seen as a show of care or a peace offering. Once I got home he was sitting at our island doom scrolling through TikTok. I think we've all been there. I decided standing across from him would be a bit of a better choice, so I gave us our respective cups and asked if I could get his attention for a conversation. Well, what I hoped would be productive turned unproductive quickly as he sighed with an eye roll and turned off his phone. I started by asking the big question of if he wanted any more children. I even suggested he doesn't think about what I said on the subject and just tell me his feelings about more children. With that he answered a firm no and told me, as he said before, a 3rd child is and will always be off the table. I then asked him if he had any fears or concerns about surgery's medical procedures. He said no to this question as well. So I asked if he understood the procedure and what it entailed, and he said yes he does, which is why he doesn't want me to get it done. In his words, I wouldn't be a woman if I got any part of my reproductive organs, what makes me a woman, removed, and he refuses to allow me down that path. I then followed up by asking about his getting a vasectomy, and he said it's pretty much the same thing for men and he won't let anyone take away if manhood. The final question I managed to ask was, did he just expect me to be on birth control forever? And this man looked me in the face and said, it's worked so well for me already, why change things up? Guys, as I stated in my previous post, I am miserable and in debilitating pain with birth control. At the end of this I just grabbed my coffee and went sit on our porch just trying to wrap my head around the conversation while he sit in the house acting like nothing is wrong and we're just having a normal day off together. Stories number 14. My 31M partner, 36F, expects me to pay for her son's child support because the father stopped doing it. My partner and I have been together for a year and 5 months. We have our ups and downs, but one of the main issues is that her son's father is in the picture too much. He stopped financially supporting his son because we're in a relationship and he wants her back. He's blackmailing my partner to leave me for the child support money. The issue now is that my partner claims it's my fault that the money stopped and she's suggesting I need to step in. The child is 8 and me and him don't have the best relationship. He doesn't even know that me and his mom are in a relationship, as my partner don't want to tell him. He curses me. Hits me. Even told me to fuck my mother. I did tell her that once we move in together then it will be my duty to provide. But that's not good enough for her. Stories number 15. Aita for telling my mom I won't take care of her when she's old after she abandoned me as a kid. I 29F was raised by my dad after my mom walked out on us when I was 6. She left to find herself and started a new family with another man. She barely kept in touch. No birthdays, no holidays, not even a call when I graduated college. For most of my life, I accepted that she didn't want to be my mom and I moved on. Fast forward to a few months ago, out of nowhere, she reached out. At first, I thought maybe she wanted to reconnect and apologize for the past, but no. She told me she was struggling financially, her health wasn't great and she needed someone to step up and take care of her. Apparently, her husband left and her other kids weren't in a position to help. I told her flat out no. I wasn't going to play caretaker for someone who abandoned me when I needed her. I reminded her that she made her choice years ago and I don't owe her anything. She got mad and started crying, saying, "But I'm still your mother. You can't just throw me away like I'm nothing. I don't feel guilty. She made her bed and now she has to lie in it. But part of me wonders if I really am being too harsh. Aita for refusing to take care of the one who abandoned me, even she is my mother and we share the same blood. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA, you don't owe her anything. She made her bed, time to sleep in it. Reply. I was willing to forgive her, but there was a darker picture behind why she wants to reconnect with me. Commenter 2. If she says you cannot abandon me, I am your mother again, just point out she abandoned you and what goes around comes around. Update. It's been a day since I posted here and I'm very thankful to all of you who shared their thoughts on it. I just want to share what happened in the past 24 hours. She was still blowing up my phone with guilt trips, telling me I was heartless and that she did the best she could. When I didn't respond, she turned to extended family. Suddenly, I was getting messages from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years, telling me I was a disgrace and that family is family, no matter what. One aunt even said, "You'll regret this when she's gone." But the real kicker, I found out from my dad that she's been telling people that she was forced to leave when I was a kid, painting herself as the victim in all this. She claimed my dad turned me against her and that she always wanted to be in my life, but I never let her. That was the moment I knew I made the right decision. I sent her one final message: you abandoned me. You don't get to come back now and demand my love and care like nothing happened. I owe you nothing. Then I blocked her. I don't feel bad. If anything, I feel lighter. I feel free. I feel happy. Comments. Commenter 1. That's honestly the perfect way to handle a shit situation. Glad you stood up for yourself. Commenter 2. I agree. Now she suddenly remembers she's a mother. Get the hell out of here with that nonsense. Family isn't just blood, it's showing up, and she sure as hell didn't. Now that life kicked her in the ass, she wants someone else to fix it. Nah, she made her bed, she can damn well lie in it. Commenter 3. Her husband left her and her other kids weren't in a position to help. Can we wonder why? Seems like all of them went NC. Enjoy your life OP. Stories number 16. My girlfriend is beyond stupid and I feel like I might have to end the relationship. Okay. When I first met my girlfriend I noticed she sometimes made misjudgments, but I didn't think much of it. Now that we've been together 2 years I realize how stupid she is. That might sound harsh, but that's the only word I can think of. We will go downtown to some place she wants to go and she will walk down a street and be like, "Oh wait, wrong way," then walk down another street and be like, "Oh no, wrong way," then walk down another street and be like, "Oops, wrong way again." It's horrible, she has no sense of direction and I feel so stupid following her around. She also talks in circles which makes me so angry. Like for an example, yesterday she asked me, "Do you want a burrito for dinner?" Then I replied, "We don't have the ingredients for a burrito, so I'm going to eat the food we have in the house." She then asks, "Oh, so you don't want a burrito?" So I thought maybe she bought ingredients for a burrito, so I said, "Sure, I'll have a burrito." She then says, "Okay, but we don't have the ingredients for a burrito." Like, yes, I know that. Her stupidity makes me treat her worse, which I hate because I don't want to be rude to people, but sometimes the way she talks and acts just infuriates me. I also feel more slow and held down when I'm with her. Like when she makes a dumb decision, I'm usually around her so I have to help her correct her mistake. Anytime I do something alone I feel a huge wave of happiness go through my body because I don't feel held back from her behavior. Overall she's a good person, but I honestly don't think I can continue a relationship with her. Her misjudgments cause me so much financial loss and general stress. Stories number 17. I, 18M, am not accepting my wrestling academic scholarship to a university since my girlfriend, 18F, didn't get in. My dad, 48M, says I can't have my $529 money they saved for me. He's so mad. What can I do? My household is in chaos over the news I dropped on Saturday and I don't think my parents have ever been this mad, so I really need help. The basics are I got a wrestling and academic scholarship to a D1 school that's about 8-hour drive away. I've wrestled since I was 4 and got straight A's since middle school and I'm proud of both my scholarships. My athletic scholarship is not full ride, but with the academic add-on, it would mean I could get a 4-year education with almost no cost. My parents saved about $50,000 in a $529 plan and my parents were so proud of me. They said if I made it through the first year of college with good grades and impressed my coaches, I could have the $529 money to live off of or invest or whatever is acceptable with taxes. Now it comes to my girlfriend. I love her more than I can say. I mean, she is literally my world and I can't imagine my life without her. She is my soulmate and we are all but officially engaged at this point. First we thought we could do the long distance thing, but there's no way, so she did a late reach application to my university but got denied. We got the news on Friday. Without even thinking about it, I said I'd turn down the scholarship and stay with her at the more local state school. For her part, at first she was mad at me for not wanting to follow my wrestling dreams, and she was fearful I'm throwing everything away for her, and she promised me that we could make an 8-hour distance work if it was meant to be, but after some convincing, she agreed. I sat my parents down on Saturday morning and told them that I was turning the scholarships down and would need the money from the 529 plan. They exploded, and I mean exploded, at me. I've never really been in trouble, so I didn't even realize they could get so mad or be so disappointed in me. We argued basically all day Saturday, and before they got so frustrated they went and stayed in a hotel to not have to see me. They said the bottom line is basically, the 529 money is mine to do what I want with. But they are not supporting stupidity, so I have to work and pay for my first year of college 100%, and if I maintain a C while working part-time average, then I can have the money. I guess their argument is they now question my dedication to school and don't want the money to just go down the drain. This is so unfair because that money was saved for school, and it's not like I'm not going. I already have acceptance to our state school, and what's important is the education, not how I get there. My parents are mad because they know I love wrestling and spent a ton of time and money as I was growing up to get me to the top levels, but with MMA being so popular these days, I can use my skills professionally if I want. To me everything is good and there's no reason to freak out and deny me the money. What can I do in this situation? How do I convince them that the fair thing to do is let me have my 529 money to go to school, which is what it's intended for? TLDR, my parents are threatening to not allow me full access to my 529 college money after I said I was turning down a wrestling academic scholarship so I can go to the same school as my girlfriend. What can I do? Edit. As if my life couldn't suck more, my girlfriend called and her parents convinced her that anyone willing to throw away their future for a HS relationship is someone she needs to step away from. So we are officially on a break. Literally, what the fuck? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You are doing a big fking mistake. The fuck are you thinking? Don't piss on your future for some girl. If she can't follow you, that's on her. Don't sacrifice so much because she can't go. You'll regret this and resent her. Especially the day she'll dump you. Because let's be frank, high school relationships don't last and she'll dump you eventually. Or you will. Reply. Because let's be frank, high school relationships don't last and she'll dump you eventually. Or you will. I know everyone says this, but our relationship is truly different. Even my parents love her and hope we stay together. Commenter 2. Your parents are 100% right in this situation. Never give up an education for a high school relationship. You worked your entire life to get into this school and you got scholarships as well. You're giving up a huge opportunity here for your girlfriend. Put this into perspective. 5 years from now, will you regret not going to your school of choice if your relationship doesn't work out? Yes, you will. You're not entitled to that money, you're making an irrational decision. If your relationship is strong enough, you make long distance work. If it's meant to be, it will be. Your acceptance scholarships into your choice of school is guaranteed, your relationship is not. I, 18M, posted about a week ago about turning down my wrestling academic scholarship to go to school with my GF, 18F. Bottom line, I'm taking the scholarships, but we're broken up April 20th, 2018. Update. Basically what had happened is my parents had called her parents. They are pretty close friends in their own right, and her parents sat her down and basically convinced her that my decision was not good for either of us, so she was breaking up with me. She said that she could never live with the guilt of me not taking my scholarships and that I had to take them to have any chance of things working out with her. I had the worst weekend of my life because I didn't have my girlfriend anymore. Basically, I begged her on Monday to get back together with me and she said she just needed time. I have no idea what this means because everything was so cool with us last week, but this week, broken up. Can someone please explain how this makes sense? I have no idea. I'm trying my best to leave her alone, but it's so hard, and I've even heard rumors that a guy she used to date before me is driving her to a party tonight. Like, literally have no idea what to make of that. This is pain almost unbearable. So to the part that probably everyone cares about, since I'd never notified my scholarship school that I wasn't coming, everything is still on track for me to show up in June for unofficial workouts. So I'm still going to accept my scholarship and everything will move forward as if nothing ever happened as far as that goes. So that's my update. Thanks for everyone for being so honest with me, and I realize I pretty much still don't want to hear the truth that this is the best for me because I'm so hurt over not being with my girlfriend anymore. TLDR, I posted last week about not taking scholarships so I could go to school with my girlfriend, but she broke up with me. I'm taking the scholarships anyways. Top comment. Commenter. Dude, I know you're feeling really bad right now, but in the future, you will not regret taking the scholarship. Stories number 18. I accidentally caused a war between my family and my brother's wife's family with one innocent text message. So my brother's wedding happened 2 days ago. And it turned into a complete chaos, which I know even though I don't were there. You might wonder why I didn't attend the wedding if it's my brother's. Well, it's because of his wife's family. He did send me an invitation to the wedding because he wanted me there, but his fiancée told him I couldn't attend because I had a boyfriend. You might be confused. But I'm a man. A bisexual man to be exact, and I have a boyfriend who I wanted to bring to the wedding. She said even though she doesn't have a problem with that and he doesn't have a problem with that, her extremely religious parents who already forced her to do the wedding in a church would most likely banish us from the wedding and cause trouble between our families. After she told him that my brother told me I couldn't attend and told me why. You might think I was angry. The truth is I was relieved. I hate going to big events with lots of people because of my social anxiety, and I already was used to not being able to attend certain events because of my sexuality, so it was nothing I haven't heard before. So at the day of the wedding I stayed at home with my boyfriend. It's worth mentioning my parents apparently didn't knew I wasn't attending the wedding. I was chillin' at home cuddling with my boyfriend when I suddenly got a text message from my parents asking me where I was because they couldn't find me at the wedding party. I told them I wasn't attending the wedding and if my brother hasn't told them anything. They said no and asked me what happened. I didn't saw any reason to lie, so I sent them a text message telling them exactly why. Now I have to admit I don't exactly know what happened after I sent them this message because they read it but didn't reply. And why do they care in the first place? They didn't notice I wasn't there before until the wedding was already over. They only noticed when the wedding party started, however. Apparently my parents talked to my brother about it and all of a sudden my absence was the main topic of the wedding party. From what I heard, two fronts formed. On the one hand my parents and the rest of my family against the family of my brother's wife, and apparently he as a husband now felt compelled to take her side and tried to argue in her favor. It's crazy to think that I was just sitting at home living my best life with my boyfriend while all of that shit went down on his wedding. The wedding party was ruined and my brother appeared on my door angrily screaming at me why I felt the need to ruin his wedding. I was confused and asked him what happened and he told me everything. I told him it wasn't my intention. I just told our parents what happened because they didn't know and wanted to know where I was, and I thought he told them beforehand. He screamed at me that I ruined his wedding. I told him it's not my fault, he wasn't honest with them. I just respected their wish to not attend the wedding. I couldn't know it would go down like this because like I said I couldn't attend several events before because of my sexuality and my parents never said anything about it, so I thought it would be the same thing here. But I gotta admit it's kinda sweet that my parents and the rest of my family stood up for me. They haven't done it before. That's a more than welcome change. But I still feel kinda bad because apparently I really ruined the wedding party. Update 1. Didn't thought I'd give an update, but many interesting things happened. So after my brother's visit his wife and him went to honeymoon. And the way the wedding party went might have been even worse than I imagined. What happens now is incredible. When I said in the main post that two fronts had formed, I only meant that metaphorically, of course, but it's no longer that. While nothing much interesting happened in the first 2 days afterwards, the terror started as soon as my brother and his wife went on their honeymoon. My mom and my dad visited me and told me how the wedding party escalated and they were so close to physical violence. I thought it was funny at first, but this truly bothers me. I also want to point that you did a great job at convincing me it's not my fault, but hearing my parents' side still gave me a bad feeling in my stomach. However, like I said, the terror started shortly after they went to their honeymoon. And when I say terror I mean that my SIL's family found both my Facebook and Instagram account and started spamming me with hateful messages. I received insults and hateful messages from various different accounts who all had one thing in common. They all had somewhat of a Christian theme and all of them had the same last name. So it wasn't hard to find out whose accounts it was. Mainly because I don't know my SIL's family at all. I only know her and I know her parents were homophobic Christians, but whatever. They not only started attacking me, they also found the account of my boyfriend over my account because we're linked as a couple and started to send him the same messages. The messages contained on one side typical bigot stuff like, "You're burning in hell for your sins." One even called me and my boyfriend two devils in disguise. The other side were just blatant insults. You get the idea. I called my parents and told them what they are doing. Then I sent a text message to my brother with screenshots of the messages his wife's family sent me, to which he replied that I shouldn't disturb him with that during his honeymoon as I already destroyed his wedding party. I couldn't believe it. He was just like them. He did send me an apology after my mom told me she called him. But none of this is the main reason I'm giving you this update this early, because I got a call this morning from an unknown number. I hesitated because I thought it was one of them. And I was right, but it was none of the people who insulted me. I heard a woman's voice who introduced herself as the half-sister of my brother's wife. She said it didn't went unnoticed what her family was doing and she wanted to apologize for them. I told her I'm not going to tell anyone in her family about this and that I don't blame her for her family's actions. She thanked me and hung up. I don't know why, but I have this feeling she only did this to protect her family from being reported. My mother wrote to me earlier that she wants to report the insults and the harassment of these people and that she demands for my brother to divorce his wife or she will disinherit him from her will because that's not how she raised him. A little radical in my opinion, but I understand where she's coming from. This entire thing escalated so much it's unbelievable. Thank y'all for your support on my first post. Why am I so casual about this entire situation? Some of you were wondering why I seem so calm and casual in the update when I'm discriminated against. The truth is that I am in a relationship with my boyfriend for 3 years now and the things that happen now are nothing compared to what I've been through. I receive hateful messages almost daily. Not only from their accounts but in general, and I learned to ignore that. There have been way worse situations. Such as when my boyfriend went to visit his family and I couldn't go with him. We kissed each other goodbye on the train station and when the train left and no one saw it a group of guys attacked me. I was sent to hospital because of severe injuries. Just to give you an idea what I had to deal with in the past. And don't get me wrong, we will report my SIL's family, but what they are doing is nothing I haven't seen 1,000 times before. Update 2. It's been a few days. First of all, me and my boyfriend are fine. Luckily for us they didn't go any further than their text messages. My mom filed a report against them. I don't know the current situation about that as I haven't filed the report myself. The reason I update you is a different one. First of all, one person in my SIL's family is actually going to testify in my favor and against her family. It really takes courage to do so. It's the same person that called me in the last update. Somehow they found out that she is into women. No reason to hide it anymore. However, she said she's fine and is going to stay at a friend's house. I have so much respect for what she does. Imagine the strength you need to testify against your own family. I now feel bad for assuming she only called me to save her family from being reported. More importantly, what is the current situation with my brother? Well, my mom talked to him and told him to leave his wife or she will disinherit him from her will. He decided to stay with his wife and my mom made her threat come true. He's no longer in her will. My father did the same. When I visited them I also told them that I wish that this entire situation went different. They assured me it's not my fault, but I feel like if it wasn't for me then my family wouldn't be ripped apart like this. Haven't talked to my brother since then. My boyfriend feels similar. He also told me he kind of feels responsible for all this chaos. I assured him it's not his fault. But honestly I wasn't even sure if I could say this in my position. On the other hand, it was my SIL's family's bigotry that ruined everything and everything would have been fine if I could have just attended. But now it's time for me to grow distant to this situation. We see what the report will do. I followed your advice to document everything. The insulting and harassing messages continued until 2 days ago. So I have much to say about them. Unfortunately, homophobia is still very much normalized in our society. I already said it in a post in my profile, but the reason I'm so calm and casual about the situation is the simple fact that I'm used to situations like this. They don't get to me anymore. If I let any insult get to me I wouldn't make it for a long time. It's a coping mechanism. I've been into situations where I was sent into hospital because I kissed my boyfriend in public. So insults and harassment like theirs is nothing I haven't seen before. I want to say thank you for all your support on my first 2 posts. Update 3. I think some of y'all are waiting for an update, so here I am. Keep in mind that this update will probably be the last one. So last time I told you my mother was pressing charges against them and to my surprise we won. They weren't going to jail or anything, but they had to pay for their actions. Literally. There was one incident where my SIL dad was actually trying to find out where I lived and asked my brother, who told him. Only God knows what he would have done to us if we still had lived there. But in the time span of the last 2 months me and my boyfriend moved to a different place which my brother didn't know anything of. Also their social media accounts were deleted. However, I don't know if this was part of their punishment or if they did it themselves. My mom has also carried out the threat towards my brother and disinherited him from her will. After he came back from his honeymoon he begged her to put him in again. She said only if he apologized to me. She invited me and my boyfriend over and my brother sat in the living room with this mad look on his face. She made him apologize, but I didn't accept this apology because I could tell it wasn't sincere. He did it because he had to and not because he was actually sorry. I told my brother that I am disappointed in him for who he became, Before that we had this huge bond, usually never judged each other for stuff like this, and all of a sudden he has such a problem with me having a boyfriend. I just don't get it. I told him that I missed the old him. He didn't respond to anything. He just sat there quietly staring at the bottom. After I finished he just got up and left. This was the last time I spoke with him, and it's already been a few weeks since this happened. My parents paid much more attention to the discrimination I face since this incident. They wanted to learn more about the problems I face as a queer person. I really love them. My dad even got a bisexual pride flag for me and asked if he could hang it in our bedroom. I love that I have such great parents. I just wished for my brother to become the person he once was. By the way, since the case with my SIL's family is over, I didn't heard anything about their lesbian daughter. She supported us during the process, but we lost contact afterwards, and I just hope she's fine. Update 4. The final update of my story happened 6 months ago, and I figured some of you might be interested in how things currently doing. So I'm back at least for this post right now. There have been some things that happened. First of all, I want to give you an update about the sister of my brother's wife. Around 2 months after my update she texted us and asked if she could come over. We talked a while and I was relieved to find out that she is fine. She said that she moved in with her girlfriend and the case was over, simply because her parents and the rest of her family had disowned her and threatened her with physical violence if she dares to return. However, the relationship with her girlfriend ended after a while and she asked us if she could stay for a few days until she found something. She stayed with us for 2 weeks. During that time my parents had visited us and offered her to stay with them because they had a big house with some free space. She stays there currently because she wanted to study, and my parents had no problem with letting her stay a little longer. Me and my boyfriend also support her financially a little bit. We included her into several different celebrations such as Christmas and New Year's Eve, and I feel like she is like the sister I never had. What's probably more interesting for you is how my brother is currently doing. The truth is, I don't know exactly. We haven't talked since the apology. However, he actually tried to attend our Christmas celebration party, but the moment he appeared my dad kicked him out and said that, and I quote, "This homophobic rubbish is no longer allowed in my house." I love him. OBTW, of course, both went through with disowning him. My boyfriend and I are still together and I feel like he might be the one I want to marry. This entire situation made our bond so much stronger. I plan on proposing to him, but there are so many ideas floating around in my head for the proposal that I can't really decide which one. Also, the social media accounts of my SIL's family had disappeared entirely. All of them, but I assume they already made new ones under a new name. I'm just glad all of this is finally over. I don't have any compassion left for my brother. I just wish he had never developed this way. Everything that happened to him, he brought it on himself. If you guys want, I can update you when I'm engaged. Thanks for reading. Wish you all the best. Relevant comment. Commenter 1. Be sure to also hire security at your future wedding in case your brother, his wife, and his in-laws try to boycott it in any shape or form if they somehow find out where it'll take place. Reply. I never thought about that, but true. If someone's would try to do something like this as a revenge, it's them. I keep this in mind. I proposed and he said yes. Do you remember when I told you in my last update 2 months ago that I will propose to my boyfriend? Well, I did it today. I brought up so many ideas that it was really hard to decide, so I gave him some subtle hints. Not too obvious. Just enough to see how he reacts and then decide based on his reaction. In the end, I made a photo album of us featuring the most important events in our relationship. Each of them had a thought of mine in a caption below them. Some of them were meaningful, but some of them were just random. Like one photo of us eating at his favorite restaurant at his birthday, and the caption just says something like, "Damn, that pizza was good." That made him laugh. We walked to his favorite spot in town, which is a wonderful lake. That is where I gave him the album and told him it's a present and to look through it. He was focused and didn't notice what I was doing behind him, as I just told him I was getting something I forgot. I positioned myself behind him, and that is when the last page came into play. That page had a photo of me holding the ring in the same way I positioned myself behind him, looking straight at the camera. And the caption says, "Hopefully he says yes." He turned around in disbelief and started crying almost immediately when he saw me. I couldn't even finish the question and he already said yes. It was exactly how I hoped it would go. I always dreamt of making my proposal like out of a romance novel, and I was successful. So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna marry him. I already told my entire family, except for my brother, of course. They were so happy about it, especially my mom and new sister shrieked out of excitement on the phone. I assume my brother knows anyway, considering I shared it on Facebook. You guys probably aren't wrong that he might plan something, but if he does, it won't stop us. Do you guys want me to update you when I'm married to tell you about the wedding and everything? My boyfriend and I will have a rather unconventional wedding. I just have to tell you guys this. We're currently planning our wedding, and instead of a regular wedding dance we decided we want to have a lightsaber battle against each other. Of course it's not just a random lightsaber battle. It's like a choreography that we have to learn. We're both huge Star Wars fans. My dad, who also loves Star Wars, said he wants to join, and he had an idea how to do that. He said to add like a story to it, that he wants to have a lightsaber battle against my fiancé, where my fiancé has to fight for the right to marry me, where my dad would eventually lose, and then I would step in to test my fiancé's strength myself, and there would be a lightsaber battle between us, and then I'd acknowledge his force as worthy enough. I know some might think it's childish, but I'm so excited for it. Our wedding will be a day for people to remember. New updates. Haven't talked to you for about 2 months. That is because me and my boyfriend are fully invested into planning the wedding. We have a date for it. It's gonna be next year. Still, I have so many followers on this account and I kinda wanna include you into my journey. My sister is currently helping. I don't know if I should mention it here, but my mother recently called me to tell me that my brother apparently got divorced. I have no idea what's going on with him though. Not like I care much, but I guess for some of you it's probably interesting. I'm sorry, but too much happened and I really don't want to have anything to do with him anymore. But enough about me. How are you guys currently doing? Top comment. Commenter, sorry but I would like to hear the juicy gossip about your brother's divorce. If you find out, tell us. I love karma, both good and bad. Seriously, I am very happy for your upcoming wedding. I hope you are very happy. Guys, the wedding was yesterday, but something happened. I remember how you guys told me my brother might plan something. He did. I'm still in shock. I'll post an update soon. But for now I have to calm myself down a little. I'm glad for my husband comforting me. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, congratulations on the wedding, and I'm sorry he fucked up your wedding. Did you have the lightsaber battle? That sounded awesome. Commenter 2, I'm happy y'all got to have your wedding. Sucks he was a butt, but I hope it didn't overshadow an amazing day with your beloved. Reply, unfortunately it did. He wasn't just a butt, unfortunately. New update, I accidentally caused a war between my family and my brother's wife's family with one innocent text message. So the last time I actively posted an update was about a year ago. If you haven't followed my account in the meantime, I'll briefly summarize what happened. I got engaged shortly after the update, and now a year later we're married. I'll be honest, I'm still shaken up. I wouldn't update on this subreddit if something significant hadn't happened. It's amazing that many of my followers have already warned me that my brother might be planning something, but I never would have thought that it could be so evil. The wedding took place a few days ago. We cancelled our honeymoon for now until we settled things, because right now we wouldn't enjoy it. While we were sitting at the table, eating and talking with our parents about the future, one of the security guards, yes, we did hire some as one you suggested, we had hired, approached me and informed me that someone outside was begging for admission. When I asked who, the guard hesitated briefly and informed me that it was my brother. I told the guard that I would go with him to resolve the situation, but my father, who overheard the conversation, told me to stay put because it was my day and I shouldn't have to deal with it. A little later, shouting was heard from outside. My mother asked me to stay seated. She would go see what was going on, and when she came back, her face pale as chalk, she told me that my brother and my father were shouting at each other outside. My brother demanded to be let in and my father told him to F***ck off. At some point, my brother left and my father tried to calm down, but you could still see the veins in his neck with anger. He explained what had happened. We thought that would be the end of it, but no, it was going to get worse. Much worse, in fact. My brother had somehow managed to get past the security guards. When I noticed him, he was approaching with frantic steps and my father tackled him to the ground. The music in the room stopped and all eyes were on us. I called the security guards. My father was on top of him, shouting. My mother covered her mouth in shock. My now husband stood protectively in front of me. The security guards escorted him outside and called the police. Why? Because they had noticed that he had a pocket knife, which he dropped when my father tackled him to the ground. I didn't say that he had tried to attack me with it, but I assumed that that was what would have happened. He was arrested for attempted assault. He kept looking at me. He was no longer recognizable. His eyes were full of anger and hatred. The party was ruined. The police asked all the witnesses for statements and then sent all the guests home. We currently have to settle some stuff with the police and decided to take our honeymoon later because right now we are not in the state to enjoy it with everything that happened. Anyway, after everything, I'm not only disappointed in what my brother became. I'm straight up terrified. I'm trying to tell myself that he didn't actually try to end me. But how exactly do you deal with a situation like this? Me and my husband are trying to get past this and he is so sweet but I can tell it affected him too. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you guys because some of you predicted something like this and advised me to hire security guards but I really underestimated it. I have to take a break for now. Thanks for reading. Top comments. Commenter 1, bravo to your parents once again. I had hoped your brother would learn his lesson, but it appears otherwise. I hope you can heal from this experience soon and get the honeymoon you and your husband deserve. Commenter 2, OP, as part of therapy, consult with legal counsel to determining whether you have an actionable cause of action for his ruination of your wedding reception. Perhaps sue him for reimbursement of monies expended for the wedding reception, all reception-related expenses. Commenter 3, seek counseling ASAP. This was a traumatic event and getting therapy can help keep you both from developing PTSD. So glad to see how your family has rallied around you and become such a wonderful allies. Many happy wishes for a long and loving marriage full of laughter and joy. Stories number 19. Aita for reporting my coworker for cheating in the company walking competition. At our last company meeting they announced there would be a step competition. Participation was voluntary. If the average number of steps is greater than or equal to a 5K per day, all participants get a Friday half day. The person with the most steps overall wins an Apple Watch. We would log our steps during work days only for 20 days. I've been in a funk lately and was glad for an excuse to get back into my fitness routine. I love running and asked if steps from running could be counted. Matt, who volunteered to manage the competition, said it did. My goal was 20,000 steps a day, thinking this would easily put me in the lead, but on day one this guy Dave posted 23,000. I sent him a message on Teams, saying something along the lines of, "It's on." The next day I put up 24,000. He answers back with 25,000. Another coworker Jenna also joined in. The three of us started having daily chats about our workouts. By week 2 it's looking certain one of us will win and the whole group is absolutely getting a half day off work. Then I checked the log and out of nowhere, Tiffany, who'd been posting 10 to 15,000 per day, posts 65,000 steps. For perspective, a marathon I ran resulted in 52,000. So I'm skeptical, but also, maybe Tiffany ran a casual ultra-marathon on a workday. Who knows? I sent her a Teams message, "That's a lot of steps, what's your secret?" She said she plays volleyball and wanted to count the steps from her games but can't safely keep her phone or watch on her to keep count. To solve this problem, Matt looked up a chart online that gives a step equivalent for other activities. Volleyball equals 89 steps per minute, tennis equals 133 SPM, etc. Fair enough, but the math still ain't math, and so I said, "Wow, you must have played for like 8 hours. Her reply, "Well, I also rode my bike." Now this is where I call bullshit, so I clarified, "You counted riding your bike?" Turns out she didn't just use the chart for volleyball, she used it to count everything she did and convert it into steps. Bike riding, stretching, yoga, washing the dishes. All great, but those are not steps. This seemed pretty lame to me and I just said, "I don't think that's really in the spirit of this competition," and immediately went to Matt to ask about this chart. Specifically if bike riding counted toward steps. He said bike riding didn't count, it was too different and also unfair since not every employee has access to a bike. I thanked him for clarifying and told him that Tiffany may also need some clarification. Not 2 minutes later I get this message from Tiffany, "Really, you complained about me? That's actually not in the spirit of the competition. I lost a pet recently and have been so depressed. I've been struggling to lose weight and I was so proud of my steps from yesterday. Not everyone can be a marathon runner like you, really uncool." I knew I was being a little cheeky going to Matt, but Tiffany's message really took me by surprise. Am I the asshole? Comments. Commenter 1. Your company is the asshole for making you all compete against each other for a measly half day off. To be fair, they're not competing for the half day off, they all get that if they all participate, they're competing for an Apple Watch. And why shouldn't a company try and support efforts of self-betterment? Commenter 2. I think these kinds of things that pit employees against each other are not actually great for morale. Look at this person coming to AITA because of a fight they're now in with a coworker because of this competition. That's why I think the company is TAH. Commenter 3. I can agree to that up to a point. It's not the company's fault that this woman decided to game the system. According to OP there was healthy competition between them and 2 others without animosity and it bred good habits. There's always going to be cheaters and it's not the fault of the people putting up the prize for their sins. Commenter 4. That's a lot of steps, what's your secret? Turns out the secret was cheating. It's just for fun and she took it too far. Commenter 5. Digesting ice cream also uses calories, doesn't mean I should convert that into steps. Commenter 6. What if you have restless leg syndrome? Can you count 1,000 steps overnight? Update. So the feedback on my last post made me feel like less of an asshole for sure, but what happened next definitely got rid of any remaining guilt I may have had. Tiffany won the steps competition. After I spoke with Matt, he tried to clear things up with Tiffany, but in his words she was combative and rude, so he ended up looping in our HR rep, Jill. Jill decided that Tiffany could keep her 65,000 steps and the rules would just be clarified for everyone going forward. Well, going forward, Tiffany continued to post 35,000 to 40,000 steps every single day. Less ridiculous than 65,000, but still ridiculous considering we all sit at desks 8 hours a day. It was still a tight race between the four of us, because we, Dave, Jenna and I, had been posting higher than Tiffany prior to the 65,000 step day. Then Dave got sick. He only posted 4,000 one day, and that was enough for him to fall too far behind. Then I had something urgent and time-consuming come up at work and only got 10,000 steps that day. That was enough for me to fall too far behind too. So it was basically up to Jenna at that point, and she was really working for it. Even got up at 4 a.m. the last couple days of the competition to try and max out steps. The highest she ever got to was about 41,000, and in the end Tiffany beat her by about 250 steps overall. Tiffany had zero issue happily accepting her award at the next company-wide meeting and gave this super annoying speech about how everyone did so great and how in the end she's just glad we all became more active and healthy. I never responded to the message she sent me about being depressed about her dog or whatever. At the end of the day, this is my job and I'm not trying to get into some messy and weird fight over an Apple Watch and an extra 4 hours on a Friday. Comments. Commenter 1. Combative and rude. This should have led to a meeting with HR and a disqualification. Reply. Yeah, Tiffany has gotten away with stuff like this before in more serious work situation too. I don't get it. Commenter 2. HR in her pocket, I wonder how. Commenter 3. Jill decided that Tiffany could keep her 65,000 steps. Commenter 4. My petty ass would be telling Tiffany it's a good thing she won that Apple Watch so she can find out how many steps she's actually doing in a day. Commenter 5. I gave up a walking competition due to similar abuse of the competition. The amount of steps per day being posted was 80k, 100k by a couple people in a particular department. Not possible. No one is working 8 hours a day and walking over 40 miles as well. I complained nothing was done. Shoulders were shrugged saying it was fine. Stories number 20. Did my partner cheat 10 years ago and forget it wasn't me that was with him? My partner and I were in bed watching silly videos when a clip of a comedian popped up, asking people about the weirdest place they'd had sex. Without thinking, I laughed and said, oh, for us, it was definitely the beach. Remember when we used to go there? For context, it was a very isolated beach. But then, he looked at me and said, no, the weirdest place was in the bathroom at Asda. I froze. What? I stared at him, confused. We never had sex in a bathroom at Asda. He insisted we did, back when he was living with his brother and I was staying with my aunt. He even painted the scene. Our son was asleep, so we snuck off to the bathroom. Only, our son wasn't even born yet. I was pregnant at the time. And I am absolutely sure I would remember having sex in a supermarket bathroom. That kind of adrenaline rush would have stayed with me forever. Yet, he kept insisting it happened. And that's when it hit me. Did he cheat on me and forget that the person he was with wasn't even me? This was 10 or 11 years ago, but still, I would not have forgotten this. And I know this because I remember every place I've ever had sex in public, even from before I was with him. So this made absolutely no sense to me. So yeah, there you have it, the truth off my chest. Edit or update whatever you want to call it. I didn't expect this post to get so much attention. This is my first time posting here. This is not AI or fake. English is not my first language, but I am somewhat fluent. My grammar isn't the best, so I asked AI to correct it. I don't see a problem with that. And seeing how some people are roasting me in the comments for being with a cheater, saying my child deserves better, hoping he's not a doormat like his mom, and that I deserve this, I can only imagine what the comments would look like if my grammar was bad. As for those commenting about my child, he doesn't know anything about this. He's never seen us argue, all he sees is what we let him see. Apart from the things I mentioned, we've had a very loving relationship. The cheating 5 years ago I forgave and I don't regret that. We have been happy. Trust is still hard sometimes. But at the moment in the present he has not given me reasons to think that he has cheated or though about it. I understand what people are saying, that he might be abusive or mentally manipulating me, but I don't really see it that way. Maybe when we argue, but I don't think he does that on purpose, or maybe I'm just blind. Right now, I'm thinking this might be something he's confusing with a dream, or something like some people have said. Thinking back, I have mentally blocked out a lot from that time. I had a very stressful and traumatic pregnancy, and it's not something I want to get into or talk about. I posted this just to get it off my chest. Please don't offend me in the comments, that's just mean, and don't bring my son into it, he has nothing to do with this. Stories number 21. My wife returned from a work retreat with a hickey. She swears it's a bug bite, but I'm not convinced. I'm at loss. How do I move forward? I'm 27M, in a fight with my wife, 28F. We've had fights before but not this bad. I'm at a loss on how to proceed. For context, we're college sweethearts married for almost 6 years. We have a daughter, 4F. Our relationship was never perfect or without challenges. We've faced some family opposition with cultural differences, but we've made it work. She's my first love and my best friend. My wife works in corporate. Her job has annual work retreats that last for about a week. This year was in Vegas. I usually arrange my work schedule and tag along with her, and we make our own trip out of it. We couldn't this year. Our daughter gets major anxiety traveling long distances. We're working on it, but she wasn't budging, and we decided to choose our battles. So I stood behind and held down the fort at home. The change of plans was a bummer because the trip was part of us reconnecting as both a couple and as a family. My wife's work hours have taken a toll, and her work-life balance leaves much to be desired. We entertained the idea of her skipping the retreat. Attendance is optional, but it's generally frowned upon if you don't, and my wife's making connections in her field. She grew increasingly weird. We have a system if either of us is away for extended periods. We keep in contact. For the first day or so, she was herself, but she grew distant. I'd even text her about important stuff and be left on read while she claimed she never saw my text. Whenever we talked, she was rushing me or our daughter off the phone. These were all times she wasn't involved in retreat activities. We were supposed to have a mini birthday celebration for our daughter over FaceTime. Our daughter was excited. It was something my wife promised her because the retreat overlapped her actual birthday. But my wife backed out because she had people up to her room after a seminar. It was like she wanted my permission to break her promise to our daughter. I told her I wasn't offering that nor making her keep her word. She said I wasn't being fair, and this was a networking opportunity. They were business-oriented and wouldn't understand her stepping away for family time. I said her decision is her decision, but she'd have to explain it to our daughter. She promised her that she'd rain check the following day. Our daughter didn't understand and cried. My wife ended up hanging up and leaving me to comfort our daughter alone. That whole incident rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like it. She didn't keep her word for the rain check either. She was documenting the retreat on social media. One coworker, 23M, was almost in every pic video attached to her hip. In one pic he had his arm too comfortably around her IMO. He's a recent hire in my wife's department. She was asked to oversee him. I don't like the guy. He doesn't know boundaries. Once, in response to a work assignment, he texted my wife that she's exactly the kind of woman he needs to keep him in check. My wife had brushed it off. She feels bad for him because he's not fitting in. She took him under her wing during his first retreat with the team. If I'd questioned, she'd say she was tired or networking. There was always something. But I've seen her at these retreats. This wasn't like her. She was just off. The day before her return home, she complained about a bruise on her neck. She stressed it was a bug bite. I didn't actually see the bruise until she came home. I instantly thought it was a full-on hickey. She kinda brushed it off after making a big deal of it over the phone. I didn't push because our daughter was present, but when I was able to confront her, she clung to her bug bite claim. When I kept pushing, she asked what I was trying to imply. I outright said I believed she had a hickey, and I didn't believe she was being honest with me. We had it out then. She was offended and pissed at the accusation. Infidelity has always been a sore topic. Her family has a history of infidelity, so we had a pretty bad fight, and she accused me of looking to pick a fight due to the incident with our daughter's birthday. I told her it had nothing to do with that and everything to do with a hickey on her neck. The fight ended in an impasse. We're still not recovered. She swears it's a bug bite. But I'm not convinced. I've always trusted my wife. I never doubted her, but this bruise doesn't look like a bug bite. It looks like a hickey. I only feel more strongly when I consider how distant and weird she was during the Vegas retreat. Now she's wearing turtlenecks ever since, and we're caught between arguing and her dousing our daughter and me with affection. Communication usually prevails for us, but not now. I think my accusation pushed us to a new level of argument. I'm at a loss here. I really need outside perspectives. How do I move forward? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I've never gotten a bug bite that looked like a hickey. Did she show you her phone or provide any proof that could support her innocence or just dismiss you? The extra affection is a common move from guilt-ridden cheaters. Even if we stretch the imagination and believe it is a big bite, she wasn't acting trustworthy, or was she a good mother while the was in Vegas and she needs to address and correct that? Reply: no, I haven't had access to her phone. We usually have an open phone policy, but it's not something we've ever really done. I'm sure it'll be another argument. Commenter 2: why did you go on work trips with her in the past? Did she want you to, or did you not want her to go alone? What is, and why is it necessary to have, the system when one of you is away? Whose idea was the FaceTime birthday celebration? Did she not talk to the daughter at all on her birthday or just couldn't do the FaceTime celebration? Reply: work-life balance was an issue, so she'd invite me on the retreats. The system is for an extended periods away from each other, like how long the retreat was. Especially since we have a child now. The birthday FaceTime was my wife's idea. She promised our daughter and got her excited about it. No, she didn't talk with our daughter until she was calling to cancel. That's another reason the birthday stunt rubbed me the wrong way. OOP responding to a deleted comment: yeah, you don't get to disconnect from being a parent, especially to a minor, for extended holidays. You certainly don't ghost them on their birthday and when you promise to do something special for them and got the child excited about it, or hang up on them while they're crying. I'm not insecure. My wife's gone on the retreats before. We both work outside the home and have the caring for our daughter. So it's not an imbalance. My wife's work-life balance is out of sorts. She's in the company of other adults plenty. I've been with my wife on these retreats and other social events. I know how she is. She was off this entire trip, nor was it appreciated her entertaining a coworker, who ignores boundaries, having his arm wrapped around her waist like he was claiming her or something. I trusted her when she said she had a bug bite. I got things to help her treat it for when returned. It was only after I saw the bruise in person that there was no mistaking it was a Hickey for me, and I questioned her on it. Update: I, 27M, wanted to give an update and thank everyone who reached out. The outside perspectives helped. Things are a roller coaster. I'm trying to process. It took a while for my wife, 28F, and me to have any real conversation about the bruise on her neck. We were stuck between arguing and her showering our daughter, 4F, and me with affection. I rarely saw the bruise because she was turtlenecked up. But I did note the healing process from reddish purple to yellow. There wasn't any more discussion about the Vegas retreat. She made it clear she was done talking about it and that she shouldn't need to defend herself to her husband. I told her she could do whatever she wanted, but I was done being treated like an idiot, and I wasn't sharing a bed with someone I couldn't trust. So I moved into the guest room. Communication stopped. The silences were palpable. Even our daughter noticed. I'm not proud of that. I try keeping her out of fights. My wife came to the guest room one night and asked if we could talk. I could tell she'd been crying. She said she hated the way things were between us. She felt she was losing me either way. I told her I needed complete honesty. She confessed she hooked up with that coworker, 23M, on our daughter's birthday. The Hickey was from him. She was lost in the heat of the moment and didn't realize he was sucking so hard on her neck. By her account, they made out while doing some on top of the clothes stuff, and then he went down on her. It stopped there because he called her by a nickname that I affectionately call her. It snapped her back to the reality of her actions. She went to splash water on her face and saw the Hickey. The guy made light of it and made a joke about the Hickey being her souvenir. She blew up on him and kicked him out of her suite. Part of the reason she was avoiding me was out of guilt. She said she's coming clean because she doesn't want to hide things anymore. I asked her why she cheated. What was it about that guy she deemed worth risking everything? She claimed it wasn't him specifically, nor is she unhappy with our marriage. She doesn't really know how to explain it, but a part of her feels broken. The more she looks in the mirror, the more she sees her dad, 57M. A cycle of being consumed with work, distant from child, and the infidelity he put her mom, 55F, through. She said her family never talked about anything openly and how when she was growing up, my MIL never addressed anything with her. I said her parents didn't make her cheat. She chose to party up with a guy who constantly disrespected our relationship. These were all her decisions, and she at any point could have chosen our family. She agreed. She wants to blame her parents but realizes this is on her. She apologized for cheating and for entertaining the guy's advances. She said she'll do whatever it takes to repair. Go to HR, quit her job, counseling, anything. She wants to make everything right. I told her I don't know what right looks like or if that's possible for us anymore. I knew we had our problems, but I thought there wasn't anything we couldn't talk out. She insisted we still could talk it out. We didn't have to give up on us. She tried giving this rally cry for our relationship, but I felt very numb. I said I didn't recognize her. Not just the betrayal of our vows but also how she treated our daughter. She's like a stranger. She feels she failed as a wife and mom, but she loves us both beyond words and wants our life together and our family intact. I told her I couldn't give her the answer she wanted and thought we needed to separate and reevaluate. She didn't want separation. She felt we should stay together in our home, but I told her a separation was happening. Either she was leaving the home or I was with our daughter. She consented to leaving so as to best not uproot our daughter so much. She asked for our daughter not to be taken away from her. My wife's staying with my in-laws. I know that's difficult in itself because she doesn't have the best relationship with her parents. One of the hardest parts is the shift for our daughter. Right now, she believes her mom's just busy with work per usual. She hasn't questioned it too much. My MIL called the other day. She made no excuses for my wife, but she's advocating for us to work through it. She told me times when she heard my wife describe me as the anchor she always wanted. She believes there's something worth fighting for if I'm open. Despite some family opposition we faced throughout our relationship, my MIL was always a supporter of us. I'm even more at a loss. I never imagined this kind of betrayal from my wife. She was my safe place. I feel numb yet broken. I'm in love with her. That hasn't changed. But I don't see myself, her, our relationship, or our family the same. Everything's more tense because it's fresh. I think this period of separation is for the best. I'm not sure about divorce. I haven't let myself fully go there. I'm not set either way. I don't know where things go from here, but I'm focusing on our daughter and taking things one step at a time. I feel that's all I can do right now. Thanks again to everyone for the support. It's much appreciated. TLDR Update 4, my wife returned from a work retreat in Vegas with a hickey on her neck. She swears it's a bug bite, but I'm not convinced. I only feel more strongly when I consider how distant and weird she was during the retreat. We're stuck between arguing and her dousing our daughter and me with affection. I'm at a loss. I really need outside perspectives. How do I move forward? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. It was already established that there had been line crossing with the coworker prior to the trip, even if it wasn't physical yet. But even if there hadn't been, I've known coworkers' pet names for their significant others before when only interacting with them on a professional level. The fact that the guy both intentionally gave her a hickey and used the pet name says a whole hell of a lot about him, though. Someone willing to engage in an affair is bad enough. This guy was doing it as some kind of sick power play. Commenter 2. It's also possible it's something super common like honey or baby. Reply. No, it's a specific nickname. It's not derived from her name or anything. It just summed up things I loved about her in one word. Apparently he turned it into a sexual context. Commenter 3. One question, how close was the colleague to her to know her nickname that you use? And why did she let him this close to her literally and figuratively? Reply. At the time, I knew they had a friendship. She was asked to mentor him as he joined her department. So she took him under the wing and was supposed to be showing him the ropes. They would text and stuff and he would cross boundaries. His texts increasingly read like a guy fishing for an opportunity. My wife shut the idea down as not even a factor for her and I chose to trust my wife because I never had a reason to doubt her before. As far as the nickname, it was something only I called her but it wasn't like a secret thing. I called her by it in front of others and our daughter. She claims the guy overheard me say it when she had me on speaker once and he asked her about it after. Stories number 22. I have been letting my husband's friend feel me up for years and I don't know why. I'm 41. This all started way back when I was 19 and me and my husband first got together. I was in the back of my husband's, then boyfriend, car with his friend while my husband and his other friend were in the front. His friend started stroking my leg and I don't know why I didn't say anything. I don't know why I responded positively either. As he got higher up my leg I opened my leg slightly so he could stroke my inner thigh. Nothing more happened than stroking over my jeans. A few weeks later at a house party I was outside having a smoke when this friend came out. He stood next to me and we were chatting when he put his hand up my dress and started rubbing my ass and we both just carried on talking like nothing was happening, finished our cigarettes and went back inside to carry on our evening. This is how it's been for years. I've never done anything with another man but it's like some silent agreement that we have that when we are alone he can just feel me up and it's fine. I've never touched him back properly although there was one time I approached him and sat on his lap while he reached around and squeezed my boobs for a few minutes while I kind of wiggled on him. This isn't the only time I've approached him either. There's been a few times on nights out where I've purposely stood next to him and let him stroke me or grab me. We don't see each other that much anymore, probably a couple of times a year, and this weekend just gone was the first time I'd seen him in 3 years. We were at a wedding and he walked past my hotel room just as I was leaving it. We made eye contact and without saying anything I just turned around and he had a good squeeze of my bum, and then we walked back down to the reception just laughing and joking like nothing had happened. I know if we are alone nothing more would happen either, as twice he has been round to my house to do some plastering where we've been on our own, and he would grab my ass and squeeze my boobs still, but that's it, and I gave him a shoulder massage while my boobs were obviously pressed against his head and neck. We've never kissed. He's never seen me naked or anything like that. He's never touched my bare boobs, only over my clothing. He very rarely touches my bare ass, only 2 occasions I can think of. Sometimes we've been alone and he hasn't done anything at all, and I'm ashamed to say on those occasions I've felt disappointed. I don't know what I want from this confession, I just want to tell someone as I've never told anyone before. Update: I have been letting my husband's friend feel me up for years and I don't know why. I posted this a couple of days ago and quite rightly got a lot of hate. I was adamant that I wasn't going to tell him, but I couldn't sleep last night and thought I'm starting therapy soon, it's time to clean. It's 8:30 a.m. here now and my husband woke up at 5 this morning. I told him around 20 minutes later. He didn't believe that we had never done anything under the clothes until he went through my phone and saw nothing on there apart from this account, and he reasoned why would I lie. He then confessed to kissing a couple of random women over the years and a bit of inappropriate texting. Neither bothered me as I don't consider kissing or online chat cheating. He rang his friend and they had a bit of a shouting match despite me telling him it wasn't always him who initiated it. He wasn't really that bothered and we kissed and hugged before he went to work. Stories number 23. I started washing and putting away my roommate's favorite mug whenever she uses it. When she caught me I lied about why. I, 30M, share an apartment with my friend, 30F, I'll call her Gwen. Gwen has a lot of mugs, more than will fit in the cup cupboard all at once. So she rotates them seasonally, she loves swapping them out. I asked why and she says it's like getting new mugs every couple months. But there are 2 mugs in her collection that never leave the kitchen. They are rarely in the cupboard because the second they are washed she uses them again. We have a dishwasher, but it's broken. Part of our chore division is that we each take care of our own dishes. The thing is, I know she doesn't like doing her dishes, it's a sensory thing, but she insisted that we do our own dishes and I thought that was pretty fair. I also know that Gwen's most favorite is her Spider-Man mug. She's never told me that, I can just tell because the Spider-Man mug gets picked before any of the others when it's clean. I know this because I see it in the sink every day for her to wash before bed with her other dishes from the day. There were times that her dishes sat for a couple days before she could force herself to work through the sensory issues and get them done. It never got to the point of smelling bad, and she apologized every time for any dishes she left overnight. I truly did not mind when that happened. I understand the sensory issues and I'm proud of her for keeping on top of it as much as she was. Now comes the part one need to get off my chest. The background info was important, I promise. Every time Gwen realizes she can use her Spider-Man mug she dances an adorable happy dance while making her tea for the morning. She doesn't seem to realize she's dancing, or doesn't realize I noticed her dancing. Either way, it's my favorite part of the day when I am getting ready for work and she dances a happy dance while getting her breakfast because she gets to use her Spider-Man mug every single morning. It seriously cheers her up and she's been a lot more positive throughout the day since I started doing this. Gwen found me washing her dishes last week. I had been doing them for a while, but this was the first time she walked in and caught me bubble-handed washing her Spider-Man mug. Not gonna lie, I panicked. She thanked me for helping her and then asked why I started to do her dishes too. She even asked if I was annoyed by her dishes when she left them. This was absolutely not the case, but I couldn't tell her I watch her happy dances. That's creepy, right? But it's so cute and makes me so happy to see her so happy. If she knew I watched her dance she would feel self-conscious and stop doing them. She's pretty shy about stuff like that. She won't sing in front of anyone, but singing is one of her favorite things to do, and I've caught her singing along to her music before she realizes I'm home more than she realizes. I also pretend not to notice when that happens. She has a really pretty voice. So yeah, I couldn't tell her why I'm really doing her dishes or I would lose my favorite part of my day. I told her I like to get mine done every night. It's something my mom always told me to do. I was already there so it wasn't a big deal to do hers too. It saves water and she does a few of the household chores that I hate because she likes them, so I don't mind doing this one tiny extra chore that she doesn't like. I feel like I was pretty obviously not telling the truth, but I think she believed me, lol. She didn't tell me to stop and she hasn't brought it up since she caught me. So I still get to see her happy dances when she goes in the kitchen and sees her Spider-Man mug ready for her to start the day. TL, Doctor, I wash my roommate's favorite mug every night to give her something to look forward to in the mornings. She does a little happy dance every time she uses her mug and it makes me happy to see her that happy. Edit 1, alright, I'm headed to bed, thank you all for your comments. To clarify, we are just friends, we are roommates now, but we were friends first. Anyways, it's been fun, but it's 5 a.m. and I have an appointment at 10 a.m. This should be fun. Good night. Edit 2, it is now 9 a.m. I just woke up to so many notifications, Jesus H. Christ, what happened while I was napping? Thank you everyone for your responses. I did not expect my habit, that I thought would be seen as weird or creepy, to get so much attention. I'm so glad so many of you got a smile from my post. As you can tell, I like to give people a reason to smile. I hope you all have an awesome day. Edit 3, guys, she found the fucking post. Scatter. No, for real. She commented on this post, she made an account specifically to comment. How? How did this happen, and how did it happen so goddamn fast? I didn't think she was on Reddit. She's always on YouTube watching video games or listening to stories. She used a picture of the mug as the profile pic. I'm panicking. I'll update when I'm brave enough to go out to the kitchen. I can hear her cooking. Edit 4, so I linked a picture with an update and the automod did not like it. So I have removed the link, but the update is still on my profile, for anyone interested. Notable comments. Commenter 1, you're both good roommates, I'm so proud of you both. It's not easy getting along with someone in your space. Reply, I've never been as happy at home as I am with Gwen. She's so easy to live with, and any problems we have had we have been able to talk over and resolve. It's almost too good to be true, but we do bicker a lot. I make fun of her for wearing Crocs nearly 24/7 and she laughs every time she hears me swearing at my bed after I stub my toe on it. I do that at least twice a week, I am an idiot lol. Commenter 2, that is actually so adorable and wholesome. Reply, thanks. I was worried I would come across as a creeper tbh. I almost posted in confessions lol. Reply, it seems like such a little thing to do, just an easy 10 minutes, if that, for me and her whole day is better. Commenter 3, no, you handled this perfectly. Non-invasive, helpful, and supportive. If you two get into the right headspace, you can bring up that you love seeing how happy it makes her. Reply, maybe one day, I don't want to make her uncomfortable in her own home, I know she's super self-conscious, but I can't help it when that little dancey dance she do is so damn cute. Commenter 4, the fact that you are conscientious enough to realize that is one of the reasons you two work so well as roommates. Reply, I'd like to think so, it feels like we've lived together longer than a few months cause it's been so stress-free. The worst argument we have is when I want to watch Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy for the nth time and she wants to watch anything else but that LMAO. Update, we talked a little bit over breakfast, I'm officially a fan of tea now lol. She thinks I'm an idiot and I agree, but she's not mad about the post or about me creeping on her mug-inspired happy dances. All said and done, I think making that post was the best 5 a.m. decision I've ever made. Gwen says hi everyone. Notable comments. Commenter 1, bro, I did similar shit for my now BF. I didn't know it was a crush until I was in too deep. We've been together for almost 3 years. Even if you aren't interested romantically, you two are adorable and have a beautiful friendship. Reply, I was watching her work in the living room today and it kinda just made me realize why I feel different, but also completely the same. I still have the same feelings of friendship, but it's like going from a familiar room to another room that's bigger, but it has the same paintings as the first room, there's just more wall space for more paintings now. I hope that makes sense. I said it to Gwen and she asked if I was high lol. Small update, a picture of a text roommate was sending to OOP, that she made OOP a cup of tea for after his Zoom call. OOP asks which cup, and she replies, the pumpkin one. OOP confirms in a comment that is her second favorite mug and means good things. Update 2, good morning y'all. A couple days ago I made a post at 3 in the morning to confess to doing my roommate's dishes because I secretly love to watch her do a happy dance when she sees her favorite mug is clean for her to use again. That post changed our lives and I'm only being a little dramatic by saying that. I gotta say thanks to everyone who upvoted and commented on my original post, I'm still shook at just how many people read about me and my mug happy best friend. The amount of people saying my post made them smile or reminded them of their own friendships or significant others has kept me smiling for days. I'm kind of into making people happy, if that wasn't already obvious, so the fact that so many people had even a moment of positivity because of me has been awesome. When I made that original post it was because I just wanted to tell someone about the mug dancing, but I knew Gwen wouldn't like it if I told anyone we knew, so I came to Reddit to shout to the void, and oh boy, did the void shout back. There were so many comments asking if I really thought we were just friends, and I'll be honest, when I made that post we absolutely were just friends. We had never talked about being more than friends and I was happy being friends because we have an amazing friendship. I hadn't really thought about there being a possibility for more because dating was always something I planned to do when I had my life together or when I had more money. I never let myself consider what I was missing out on by waiting for the right time. Her finding my post opened up the chance for Gwen and I to talk about things that we hadn't before, and over breakfast that morning we found where we stood with each other and what we thought things could look like moving forward depending on what we both agreed was the best course. We didn't make any solid plans or decisions and didn't want to rush into something that would ruin the good we already had going for us, but I'll admit I was hoping for a specific outcome. There was one comment on that first post that had really caught my attention. To paraphrase, they told me to think about how I would feel if someone else got to see Gwen do her happy mug dance instead of me, and it hit me so hard. I didn't mind the idea of someone else seeing her so happy. I just don't know if anyone she dates would notice what I did and decide to do what I did. What if they didn't care or didn't think it was that important, or any of the other things I do to make her laugh or smile? I really didn't like the thought of not being there to make sure she has that extra reason to smile in the morning. Gwen wants me to admit that I'm a sappy moron because I teared up writing this. I'm a sensitive man in touch with my emotions, and you know you love it, so shut it you. To all the people saying it's possible for platonic relationships to be like ours, you are absolutely correct. Our friend group is very open with physical and verbal affection, and we help each other all time with big and small things. We all say I love you to each other. It's just normal communication for us as a group, not just between Gwen and I. Honestly, if I hadn't made my original post, I'm not sure when or if we would have gotten to the point we are now. Maybe we would have continued as we were, and that would have been just as happy of an outcome, just a different one, like a choose-your-own adventure with multiple options for a good resolution. Which brings me to the actual update. Gwen and I agreed we want to try dating. We aren't putting a new label on our relationship yet, but our first date is next week. I'm making it all a surprise. Gwen helped write this post and will be reading the comments, so I can't give any details, but it's going to be the best first date she has ever been on, or I'll eat my candy corn patterned socks. I think she might be the one for me, and I'm going to take every chance I can to make sure she thinks the same about me. Y'all are the best and we love you. Do something kind for your loved ones for us, and everyone can and should find something to happy dance about. It makes life more fun. Love, Gwen and Peter. Stories number 24. ATIA 4, forcing my husband to choose between me and his mother. I, 31F, and my fiancé, 36M, are set to get married in July this year. We met through a mutual friend earlier last year and our relationship progressed quickly. He's literally the perfect guy, but the problem is his mother, Katie, fake name. Katie has been critical of me from day one. She often tells my husband that he could do better, and I am just an uneducated slum. I could usually disregard her, but when he proposed she went to a whole new level. The main incident occurred when we went to visit her a few days ago to announce our engagement. My future husband excitedly showed her the ring, but she just grimaced. She looked at him and, I repeat, said, "Are you really going to marry that, R-word, gold digger?" My husband laughed nervously and we left quickly after. A little context: I have high-functioning autism. It doesn't affect me too much on a daily basis, but I have trouble interpreting emotion. After we got home I sobbed and asked my husband to tell his mom this needs to stop. He didn't say much, just that he loves me and he will get better, but he can't say anything to his mom. When I pushed for answers he said he can't do anything about it and left. His sister sent me a text later telling me I can't make him choose between me and his mother. I'm so confused because I literally didn't even ask him to do that. Is there something I'm missing? Top comments. Commenter 1, as someone else who has diagnosed you're very clearly missing a nonverbal cue from your fiancé, and it probably means that he doesn't care about his mom acting like that to you. Commenter 2, NTA, you aren't making him choose. His mommy is. Commenter 3, run, don't entertain the idea of marrying this ass hat, he doesn't deserve you. If my mom ever said anything of the sort to my spouse she'd never see me or hear from me again. Major red flags, he isn't appalled and confronting it on sight. I'm just saying girl, you don't want to deal with that the rest of your life. And you def don't want to deal with that during a divorce. Asking to be treated with respect by your future husband's family is honestly bare minimum and goes without saying. He and his family don't seem to have the capacity to do that, and that's embarrassing for them. You deserve so much better than that. Please, please, please do not waste your time thinking it will change or get better. It won't. They are showing you who they are, believe them. You will be better off. Wife's post. Update. My fiancé came home the next morning, 2 days ago, and started acting like everything was normal. He didn't even mention the fight we had. Finally, that night I sat him down and asked him why he was acting normally. He responded that, it was a minor fight, and we shouldn't dwell on it. This made me mad because it was a big deal for me, and that fight made me question our relationship. I told him this and he scoffed. In that moment I looked at him, and asked him, is it really not a big deal that your mother called me an R-word gold digger? He just scoffed again and said something about her getting older and not knowing what that meant. I was done at that point. His mother is 63 years old and acts the same way she did when I met her years ago. I packed a bag, called my friend to pick me up and left. I've been staying at her place since then, not sure where my life is headed now. Top comments. Commenter 1, your life is headed to freedom and happiness. Your boyfriend can remain tied to mommy forever. Maybe she can even learn to do that thing he really likes. Commenter 2, he knows it wasn't a minor fight. He just knows you're in the right about it, and didn't want to address it. Commenter 3, seems to me your life is moving in a better direction away from your mama's boy who clearly doesn't respect you and will never stand up for you. Commenter 4, good for you for standing up for yourself. I'm proud of you. It feels dark and difficult right now, and it's okay to grieve the loss of the relationship and the person he seemed to be. But eventually you'll find yourself feeling much lighter without that weight dragging you down. I don't mean him, I mean the way his mom and then he made you feel, and you'll find your happiness again. Husband's post. ATIA for choosing my mom over my fiancé. Yesterday my friend sent me a post on this subreddit that was made by my fiancé. She totally makes me look like a villain, so I just have to say my side. We've been dating for a while now and it's been great aside from the past few days. My mother, 63F, is a single mother that raised me and my sister alone. She has always been the most supportive mother ever and I love her to the end of the world. She is getting on in her years now, and is not the same person she was. She has always been a little overprotective of me, and so she has never fully accepted my fiancé. I didn't think it was that big of a deal since she doesn't say anything directly to my fiancé. Then last weekend when we were announcing our engagement at her house, my mom wasn't too thrilled and I admit made a rude remark regarding my fiancé's autism. We left quickly after and I comforted my fiancé for over an hour. I ordered her takeout, made a bath for her and put on a movie. I explained to her that my mom is getting older and doesn't have full control of what she says. My fiancé kept pushing and I eventually snapped and told her I can't do anything about it. I'm not sure my fiancé understands because she doesn't have a close bond with her mom. I stayed at my mom's house, went back in the morning. Long argument short, my fiancé started blowing the comments my mother made way out of proportion, not even bothering to mention her age. Like I said, my mom is old now, she doesn't understand this fully. She left and I haven't seen her since. Her friend contacted me and said I'm the AH for choosing my mom over her. I'm not choosing my mom over her though, and we are still getting married, so ATA. Top comments. Commenter 1, your mom called your autistic fiancé a retarded gold digger. How is that not a big deal? There is no good fucking excuse for your mom to call her that, and I'm not buying the whole age excuse because my mom is 5 years younger than yours and she's very much alert and aware of what is and isn't okay to say to other people. Unless your mom has early onset dementia, she knows exactly what the fuck she's doing. You're a fucking mommy's boy who can't stand up for your fiancé's dignity. That's fucking pathetic. Shame on you. Commenter 2, age is not an excuse to be a shitty person. After 63 years, your mother doesn't have the self-control to keep rude comments to herself. You absolutely could have done something. You chose to not defend your fiancé because you're too busy hanging on mom's teat. YTA and your fiancé dodged a fucking nuke. Commenter 3, perhaps you should have remained quiet and let us think you are an ass instead of posting and removing all doubt. Commenter 4, the whole point of getting married is to create a new immediate family. That means your wife and future kids are your one priority and cousins, uncles and parents are distant second or third priorities. I speak from experience where my aging mother is also a filterless racist AH who spoke down on my Filipino wife. Guess what I did? Chewed out my mom and gave her one opportunity to make it right. My mom can't control her tongue, so I've since gone no contact. It's been 9 years since I last spoke to her and my wife, and I just celebrated our 11th anniversary. YTA and will always be the AH until you put your wife first, always. Now go beg for forgiveness, W fiancé, chew your mom out and tell her she's got one chance to apologize or she loses her son. Otherwise, you don't deserve your fiancé. Wife's post. Final update. Hey everyone, thanks so much for all of your support. I'm so tired of everything right now. Here is a final update, I hope. Last post. So anyways, after he posts this he calls me and like an idiot I pick up. And let me tell you, this man did not sound stable. First he was crying begging for me back and then he was screaming at me to get the F back here. It was heartbreaking to hear the man I thought I was going to marry sound so pisco. I recorded the call just in case I needed evidence and then I hung up and blocked him everywhere. About an hour later he shows up to my friend's house acting crazy and saying some things I can't repeat here. I called the police and after they took him away, I left to stay at a hotel. My friend has been really supportive but I can't put her in danger. I hope this is the final update, but if anything else happens, is there a different sub I can post in? I feel like I'm deviating from Aita. Sorry if this isn't edited properly, I just can't with life today. Again, thanks for all the support. It truly means more to me than I can ever say. Top comments. Commenter 1, kinda sounds like you dodged the crazy bullet. Commenter 2, just read your ex-fiancé's post. What a spineless mama's boy. Good for you for finally seeing you deserve so much better than settling for him and his mommy. Commenter 3, can his mommy put him in timeout? Commenter 4, oh no, the consequences of my actions, him. Stories number 25. Aita for having my mother yell at me for having intercourse with my girlfriend in my own apartment when we're both 26 years of age. So, I, 26M, live with my girlfriend, 26F, in an apartment that I pay for. We've been together for 3 years, and our relationship is great. We're both working professionals, fully independent, and, like any normal couple, we even have an active sex life. Enter my mother, 54F. She's always been a little overbearing, but since I moved out when I started dating my GF, I thought things had gotten better. Apparently, I was wrong. Last weekend, my mom came over to drop off some homemade food, which was nice, I'll give her that. I had told her she could stop by after 4 p.m. since my girlfriend and I were having a lazy morning. But, of course, she decided to show up 2 hours early with her spare key, which she has, for emergencies. Well, my girlfriend and I were in the bedroom, clearly busy, when we heard my mother banging on the bedroom door. She was shouting my name and saying things like, I know what you're doing in there, and, have some respect. I scrambled to throw on some clothes, went out, and asked her what the hell she was doing here unannounced. She started yelling at me about how it was disgusting and inappropriate to be doing that while guests are over. I reminded her that, this is my apartment. She wasn't supposed to be here yet. We're 2 consenting adults. She was having none of it. She called me disrespectful, said I had no manners, and even told my girlfriend that she should be ashamed, which, WTF. My girlfriend just walked out of the room, grabbed her keys, and left because she wasn't dealing with that nonsense. I ended up arguing with my mom for 10 more minutes before telling her to leave and return the spare key. She refused at first, but I stood my ground until she finally handed it over. She left in a huff and later texted me saying she was deeply disappointed in how I spoke to her. Now, my dad and sister are both telling me I was too harsh and that I shouldn't have put her in that situation. I argued that she put herself in that situation by showing up unannounced and barging into my home. Stories number 26. To fool by not realizing my child's passport was expired. So as the title states, I discovered my child's passport expired. One of my quirks is that when I go on vacation, I pack the night before. I just seem not to forget anything if I pack last minute. It works for me. This year, my husband and I thought it would be a great idea to take our children to Mexico for March break. I started to pack last night as our flight was at 9 a.m. Tucked the kids in, kissed them goodnight and wished them a great sleep while reminding them I would be waking them up at 4 a.m. to get to the airport. Their clothes and any other essentials were in the suitcase. Perfect, now I just needed to grab their passports and put them in our passport holder. I got them out of the safe and for some reason wanted to look at my beautiful children's faces. When I opened my son's passport, I saw the expiry date. WTF. My husband had said to me many times his is fine, it doesn't expire until next year. My dumbass trusted that. It's now 11 p.m., the night before our flight. I wake my son up and tell him to get dressed, we messed up and now I have to take you for a passport photo. When I return home after an hour, my husband is still on hold with the airline to change our flights. They tell us it's too late now and they will call us in the morning. So we stick to our original plan of getting the kids up at 4 a.m. and head towards the airport while awaiting the phone call. Husband and daughter go to check in and question what can be done about my son while we head towards the passport office for an urgent end-of-day needed passport. What the airline said was that if they changed their flight we forfeit our entire vacation. So I miserably gave my blessing for them to continue on their way. Meanwhile at the passport office all is going well to get the urgent end-of-day passport, until they ask for my son's birth certificate. Q second F up. I did not take that out of our passport holder while separating documents and carry-on stuff. Husband's flight was about to leave. Luckily he did still have his phone on and was able to send a photo of said birth certificate. It was enough for me to get a temporary, 2-year, passport for my son which I could pick up well after our original flight left. Airline was able to change our flights to tomorrow, and with a now unexpired passport we will be able to leave. But it cost us so much in the end. TLDR, don't trust your husband when he says your child's passport is still good. It will cost you so much money, time and unwanted stress. Stories number 27. You had my chart in your hands. Now everyone knows. My husband and I just had our first ultrasound today. It's early but so far baby looks good. We were well known in this part of the doctor's office. We had been having fertility struggles for almost 3 years, with only one pregnancy that didn't last. This department knew our faces and our struggles well, or so I thought. Usually for any appointment, a nurse will look at our chart, which includes past history mind you, and do your vitals. Sure enough, right before our appointment, one nurse calls us in and does the usual routine. She's taking my blood pressure when she looks at my chart and asks, "Is this your first pregnancy?" I kinda blinked at her and asked, "What?" because most nurses could find that from my basic info. Sure enough the nurse repeated herself, this time with a bigger smile. So I told her, "No, this is my second." I was hoping she would maybe take the hint from my tone. But nope, she then goes, "Ah. And how old is your little one?" They didn't make it. Finally the nurse gets it. She takes a double look at my chart, eyes grow wide, then stumbles with her words, "Oh well hopefully this one is good news right?" She laughed nervously. Honestly, this wasn't my first time answering that question and I'm just numb to it, but I did ham it up a little bit. I started sniffing and wiping my eyes a bit, just enough to where she got the point. She avoided eye contact until she finished her duties. My husband caught on quick what I was doing and stayed silent until she left. I do feel a little bad for hamming it up, but not enough. Girl, some of your clients are gonna come in with fertility issues. Stories number 28. My wife got a scary test result back and I'm barely holding it together. My wife and I are in our late 30s. Several months back my wife suddenly started having blood in her urine and pain in her kidney area. She went to urgent care where they suspected it was a UTI, put her on antibiotics and suggested some follow-ups. It cleared up in about a day on antibiotics and due to some miscommunication none of the follow-ups happened. Fast forward a few months and it happened again. We learned this time that her previous UTI test was negative and they scheduled an MRI. The blood again cleared up in a day, and when she had the MRI it showed exactly what I suspected, a few kidney stones on the side with the pain. We thought all was good except the issue with the stones. She was referred to a urologist who suspected it was the stones but wanted to do a few more tests including looking at her bladder. That test was a handful of days ago and it didn't go well. It showed she has a couple of lesions in her bladder. At first I didn't panic and told her everything would be fine. Unfortunately I did the worst thing possible and used Google. I quickly found articles that said 99% of bladder lesions are cancer, and even if treatment goes well, bladder cancer has an up to 80% reoccurrence rate. I don't want to tell her any of this and cause her to panic but I'm in full meltdown spirally mode internally. I can't sleep, I start thinking of the worst, how to tell our kids, etc. While driving the other day a song came on the radio and I lost it. Not sure why but Brandi Carlile's The Story started playing. It's not typical on stations I listen to. Now I have to sit around, unable to focus on anything while we wait for our medical system to schedule the next tests. Stories number 29. I, 27F, discovered my husband, 30M, has been role-playing as a cat online for 3 years, and I'm starting to think I'm the villain. So yeah. Here we are. Y'all might have seen his post. Yes, it's me. The wife who caught her husband living a secret life as a whole-ass feline in the digital underworld. When I first found out, I was ready to pack my bags. 3 years. 3 years of this man typing out, the humans have abandoned me once again, while I was cooking him dinner like a dumbass. But then I did something dangerous. I went through his account. I thought I was gonna find him flirting with e-girls or posting feet pics or something. What I did not expect was to find out this man is basically Cat Jesus on the internet. The way people worship him. He has lore. Enemies. A whole fan base. Y'all, there are people out there writing fan fiction about him and his rival Sir Pounce-a-Lot like it's Game of Thrones for indoor cats. I wanted to be mad but then I read one of his posts and it was like, human has returned home. She smells of lavender and coffee. I will forgive her for now. He's been writing about me this whole time. He even wrote a poem once titled, Warm Lap, Cold Heart, about how I wouldn't let him sit on me while I was working. I haven't known peace since I read that. Anyway, now I'm invested. Last night I made a burner account and left a comment on one of his posts like, Sir Whiskers, the night is long and the kibble bowl is empty. When will the rebellion begin? This MF replied in 30 seconds like, soon, yum one soon. I think we're gonna be okay, I guess. We'll update soon. And as for Mr. Whiskers, yes, he's real, he's my cat and we've had him for 7 years if I'm right. Don't get me wrong, I love cats, and Mr. Whiskers of course, but, for 3 years that my husband has been doing this roleplay, I don't know how to explain the mental gymnastics my brain has been doing for the past 48 hours. 3 years. 3 years. This man has been living a double life in the feline underworld while I've been out here thinking he's just playing Fortnite or watching YouTube documentaries about ancient aliens or whatever men do online. I asked him why he even started all this, and do you know what this grown-ass man said to me? It started as a joke, but the people needed me, the people needed him. I can't even look at him the same anymore. Every time he walks into the room I hear boss battle music in my head, but here's the worst part. I'm starting to kind of respect him. Y'all don't understand, he's literally a legend. I went deeper into the cat forums, yes, there are forums, and people are out here writing entire fanfics about the Great Kibble Famine of 2021, which apparently he started by leading some kind of cyber feline revolution against the mods. I married the Che Guevara of Cat RP and didn't even know it. P.S. Mr. Whiskers and my daughter, Christina, joined in. We'll post about the context soon. Stories number 30. My husband cancelled our plans and made us go home because I shut down after he hurt my feelings. So I've, 26F, been having like a lot of anxiety lately, work has been awful, money is tight, and that's been making things at home really stressful. My husband, 27M, and I have been trying to connect and keep ending up in little spats over stupid stuff. Anyway, today we were supposed to run a bunch of errands, our oldest is in school so we just had our 18mo son with us. We were getting back in the car after one stop and I had gotten in last because I stopped to use the restroom on the way out. When I got in the car my son was crying in the back and I asked, he's just crying because we are back in the car, and he doesn't want to be, right? Because I assumed that was the case, but he's 18 months old so he could be crying for a million reasons. Instead of just saying yes, my husband looks at me and asks me, why do you ask questions that you already know the answer to? Serious question. I felt like that was unnecessary and hurtful for him to say. I got kind of quieter because it made me feel some type of way, but I was trying not to have a bad day and I didn't want to end up in another stupid argument, so I just said, I wasn't sure if that's why he was crying, that's why I asked, sorry. And left it at that. Yeah, I stopped talking after that because I wanted to just leave it at that and move on. Again, I wasn't trying to have a bad day, I just wanted to get our errands ran and to hang out with my husband. After that he just started driving, and when I noticed we were heading back the direction of home instead of to the next stop we had to make, I asked him if we were going to finish shopping when we picked up our oldest from school. He stated that he wasn't going to run errands with me when I was being all closed off and acting like an anxious mess over what I said, and that it wasn't fair to him for me to make him out to be a huge asshole and make him feel like a POS. I genuinely was just trying to move on from the whole thing and didn't intend to make him feel any kind of way. I did slump in my seat because I was uncomfortable and I wanted to just relax and listen to music. I didn't say anything, I didn't flinch or act weird or anything, I literally slumped in my seat because I had gotten a bit anxious and I didn't continue the conversation. After he asked why, I asked cues I already knew the answer to, because I didn't want it to turn into an argument or something. When we got home, he said that this was my fault because he didn't want to argue in public, so we would just have to try again another time. The entire list of things we had to get done today got put on hold, and now I don't know if we will even get it all done or if I'll end up spending my only day off work waiting to see what happens. So right now I'm just sitting in our room trying to put my 18mo son down for a nap and giving my husband space. He's obviously mad at me, but I just don't understand why what I did was so wrong. Am I the asshole here? Stories number 31. Aita for refusing to pay for my friend's bridal shower after knowing that I was not invited. So, I recently had a falling out with my friend, Eliza, 27F, who is getting married soon. We've known each other for a while, and I genuinely thought we had a good friendship despite her being very religious, Christian. For context, I'm a transgender woman, I was born male but transitioned to a woman. Eliza has always been vocal about her faith, and while I knew she had conservative views, she never gave me any reason to think she had an issue with me personally. So when she added me to a group chat with all the other girls helping plan her bridal shower, I was happy. I assumed that since I was included in the planning, I was also invited. As the weeks went by, we discussed logistics of the bridal shower, food, decorations, games, etc. At one point, Eliza mentioned she was struggling to find a venue. She asked if my parents' small resort could be used for free. The resort is just a small 2-story villa with a cute pool. We had a karaoke machine and some card games there. We also had a PlayStation 5 there. Since I thought I was invited and I knew she wasn't well off, I happily asked my parents if we can use it for free on this certain date. They agreed, no problem. My dad was even excited that I was included and said he'd buy pizzas and soft drinks and juices for the party as a little extra gift. Everything seemed fine, until I started noticing the group chat getting quieter on my end. Discussions continued, but I wasn't tagged in anything anymore. Then, one of the other girls casually mentioned something about their matching t-shirts for the party. I hadn't received one. At first, I brushed it off, thinking maybe it was an oversight. So I messaged Eliza directly and asked, "Hey, just checking, but we have matching t-shirts, right?" Her response took a while. And when she finally replied, I felt my stomach drop. "Oh, I didn't think you'd need one. Those are just for my close girlfriends." I stared at my screen. After weeks of planning, offering my family's property, and even securing free food for her, I wasn't considered a close girlfriend. I pressed her on it, asking if I'm even invited. "Wait, so, am I even invited?" She then said, "I just wanted a really intimate gathering without any males." "I thought you'd understand." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I asked her why she didn't tell me this earlier, why I was in the group chat in the first place, and why she was okay with me offering the resort if I wasn't even invited. And that's when she got defensive. She accused me of making things all about me and said I was being misogynistic for not respecting a women's-only space. She said I was being entitled for assuming I had a place at the party just because I was helping plan it. I was furious. Why would she even add me to the group chat if I'm not even invited? I told her that since I wasn't invited, then neither was her party to my family's resort. I told her she could get her real girlfriends to figure out a venue and get some food. They won't be using my family's small villa anymore. I will also pull out Dad's pizzas and drinks. She lost it. She said I was being vindictive and selfish, that I knew she didn't have the money for a new venue, and that I should just pay for it because I should be a gentleman. Now the whole group chat is split. Some of the girls think I overreacted by pulling the venue last minute, saying I should have just let it go since she's struggling financially. Others think Eliza was completely out of line for using me and my resources without ever intending to include me. I felt belittled with the weird use of "man" as an insult and I left the group chat, and stopped responding to Eliza completely. So, Aita for refusing to let her use my family's small resort after realizing she never saw me as a real woman. Stories number 32. Aita My ex-husband is now all of a sudden interested in co-parenting after 19 years without, and I refuse to adapt his parenting style. Our young men, almost 21 and 19, they're 15 months apart, are going from their dad's house and my house quite regularly for the past couple of years. Their dad has money, and I, unfortunately, have been disability retired for several years. I've always been able to take care of my boys, so that isn't an issue. Our almost 21-year-old has been dealing with mental health issues for at least 6 years now, while my youngest, 19, has anger issues. All of these things I've been trying to get help for through our country's, Canada, healthcare system. Without extra medical insurance, mental health inpatient rehab costs at minimum $26,000 to $100,000. The wait lists for any free online classes are 4+ months and are truly ineffective. 3 family counseling sessions are at least 3 months away. My father, as X only respects his opinion, met with my ex and our 2 young men. X decided that almost 21-year-old wouldn't be allowed to leave the house outside work after we all agreed that respectful consideration would be had on all our sides. No controlling attempts would be made and no disrespectful home return times. As soon as we went back to my house, my ex says via text, "You better make sure he doesn't go out tonight. He left his car at his dad's so he didn't have to get bombarded with messages." My son and I talked. I asked him what time did he feel was fair to come home, as we have a new fur baby that I adopted last Saturday who is 1 year old. We agreed on 12:30. No demand, no trying to control, just a mutual consideration. He came back at 12:31 LOL. His dad was spamming me until he texted, "I'm guessing son is out and you don't want to tell me." I waited until son returned and I msg'd ex-hubby back that of course I didn't want to talk to you about it, cause your resort is to take the car unless things go in your favor. You verbally and emotionally abuse all of us, and I said that we agreed upon the time frame for him to come home. Our son complied, so I don't need any shit from you that I'm a bad mom in any way. I'd rather be reasonable, fair and respectful of our men, instead of being a controlling so that they resent you so much they completely lose contact. So Aita for sticking to my parenting style that was worked for 20+ years, or should I enact my ex's BS parenting of our 2 young men? Stories number 33. She asked my husband to strip at her party. So my husband went to a little get-together with some coworkers' friends, at his coworker's house, while I was out of town. It was just him, his two friends, one friend's wife, and the other friend's ex-girlfriend. They drank, but it sounded like it was pretty chill and I was glad he had fun. Fast forward to the next week and I see on my husband's lock screen that he has Snapchat from his friend's ex, who he had never met before that night. I asked him about it and he said she added him and he didn't think anything of it. Then he opened the message and it was her asking him if he would strip at her party because she couldn't think of anyone else. Mind you, she knows he is married with kids and he certainly does not give stripper vibes at all. I told him I didn't care if he kept her on his SC, but then she snapped him random shit every day for 3 days straight. He wasn't even responding, but I finally just asked him to delete her because I was feeling uncomfortable. He did so without any protest and agreed it was weird that she seemed to be pursuing him, knowing he is married. Anyways, she is always at the little parties that his coworker throws and we have been invited to a few. I am worried it will be awkward since she obviously knows he ignored her and unadded her. Do you think I overreacted and should have just left it, to avoid any weirdness in the future? I thought it was pretty disrespectful of her and just wanted to get some outside perspective on it. Stories number 34. Manager said I was doing my work incorrectly and sent me another project to reference. I worked on the reference project. Quick background, I've been doing the job duties of 2 people since I started this role, and being paid the lesser wages of the 2. Put up with this for about a year before asking for a promotion. I was denied and have since refused to do the duties that aren't mine while I look for a new position. This has led to some retaliation from my manager in the form of micromanaging, even though I have barely had to speak to the man for the past year and a half. I've just been trying to keep my head down and ignore it. Today, he sent me a long email providing input into a project he assigned me. Apparently I did it all wrong. He very helpfully sent me some other projects to reference to do it correctly, but here's the kicker, I was the one who completed those projects in the first place. Apparently he forgot he asked me for help on them. For those in the clinical research biz, this man went into the RedCap projects, downloaded the build files of the projects, added them to a shared drive, and sent me the pathway to the folder, even though I have access to the RedCap projects because I designed them. Please give me the strength to deal with the gaslighting until I get a new position. Stories number 35. My 25F boyfriend, 26M, of 5+ years ghosted me and is now dating someone new. Hi everyone, I have been in a serious and committed relationship with my boyfriend for over 5 years. We started dating in 2019, and in 2022, he moved to the US for work while I stayed in our home country to finish med school. We've been long distance since. Our future plans were always unclear. He used to say he'd come back after saving up to start a business here, but when I tried to seriously discuss it a few months ago, he shut me down, claiming I was starting an argument instead of just going along with the status quo. His only real response was trying to convince me to give up my dream of becoming a doctor and move to the US for him. I stood firm on wanting to stay and serve my country, and from then on, his replies became dry and distant. A month ago, he started ignoring my calls and texts completely. I even told him I was now willing to consider moving to the US for him, and the last message I got was a half-hearted, "Are you sure?" After I said yes, he disappeared completely. It's now been 3 weeks since he last responded, and then, I found out why. I saw receipts from his date night with a girl at his work, both from his stories and his email. He never officially ended things with me, but he's out there dating like I never existed. Now I'm wondering if I should message the girl. Not to confront her, but just to tell her the truth, that he's still technically in a relationship and is lying to both of us. Part of me wants to let it go and move on, but another part feels like she deserves to know, just like I would if I were in her place. I've also seen a similar cheating story happen to one of my close friends. What she did was leave the guy alone and just move on. But from what I can see, she's still miserable. Meanwhile, the guy is out there living his best life with the new girl, like he faced zero consequences. I don't want that to happen. Any advice is very much appreciated, especially that I'm about to take the physician's exams this year, but my head is all over the place and I seriously don't know how to be at peace. Thank you. Stories number 36. Can my school legally punish me for my insulin pump beeping? US, minor, -16-year-old student with type 1 diabetes, and I use a tandem insulin pump. It's programmed to beep when my blood sugar is low, even when set to vibrate. My teacher finds it annoying and says it distracts ADHD students, so he's planning to have the principal pull me out of class and call my parents every time it happens. I can't control when my blood sugar drops, and the beeping is a built-in safety feature. It's not like I'm ignoring it, it just alerts me so I can take care of my health. This feels unfair and like I'm being punished for a medical condition. Is this legal? I thought schools were supposed to accommodate disabilities, but they're treating this like a behavioral issue instead of a medical one. Would a 504 plan help in this situation? If they keep doing this, what are my options? Thanks for any advice. Stories number 37. Aita for telling people the real reason why I skipped my friend's wedding. I, 35F, am still friends with some of the people I went to college with. One of them, Debbie, fake name, 36F, got married this past January, after being engaged for 2 years. Early in the planning process, Debbie had asked my 6-year-old daughter, who was 5 at the time, to be the flower girl. We agreed, and she had the dress sent to us right away. We barely spoke about the subject for a while. Then the wedding was delayed by almost a year. The original date was in March 24. I'm still not sure why. I've heard 3 or 4 different reasons. By the time the actual wedding date came around, the flower girl dress did not fit my daughter anymore. We didn't find out until roughly 10 days before the wedding, admittedly my fault, and I texted Debbie right away to ask what I should do about it. Her first reply was, figure it out. I tried to ask her where she bought the dress, where I could get a similar one or whether it would be okay for my daughter to wear a different dress. I basically gave her a list of ways I could fix this and asked her what she preferred. Debbie responded with, I don't have time for this. Stop making your whale daughter my problem. Obviously, I decided against attending the wedding after that. As far as I'm concerned, we're no longer friends. And to be clear, I know that up until this point, I was not the AH. I didn't tell anyone about it at first, but our absence was obvious, my friends missed me, and my daughter was supposed to be the only flower girl. Whenever Debbie was asked about it, she apparently just said we'd had an argument, but it wasn't a big deal. When our mutual friends and acquaintances asked me, I told them the truth, without sugarcoating it or trying to defend Debbie. I even showed my friends the text messages that proved everything. Everyone took my side. About a week ago, Debbie called me. She apologized for what she said about my daughter, but told me I have no idea how stressed she was at the time. She said it wasn't fair for her to lose friends over a mistake she'd made when she was under so much pressure. Again, I don't think I was in the wrong for skipping the wedding, but I'm wondering whether I took it too far by telling our mutuals why. Edit, yes, I know I should have made sure the dress still fit sooner. I already know that was my mistake, and I'm not blaming Debbie for it. That's not what I'm asking about. Stories number 38. Aita for blocking her after she showed up empty-handed to my daughter's birthday party. So my daughter has a sister by another mother. Their birthdays are both in December. Us two mama became close recently and decided to help each other plan each other's kids' birthday parties. She sent me her daughter's invite and what she wanted me to buy her daughter, as well as what she wanted me to get her kids for Christmas. I sent her my daughter's invite and the registry. My daughter's birthday came first and she showed up, with an additional kid that was not invited or RSVP'd for, might I add, and no present. I was surprised as I had already bought her kid a gift and thought it was weird that she would not buy my child one. I texted her and said it hurt my feelings that she didn't bring her anything and her response was, I figured my presence should have been enough for you. So I told her I didn't like her energy and I blocked her and we haven't spoken since. I would like to add that she has 3 kids. I buy for all of them. I had also already started buying off their Christmas list that she had asked me to buy. I have 1 child. She also spent over $1,000 on her kid's birthday party and presents. I don't want to sound entitled, but I feel like if you had that much for all that you could have set aside $20 and gotten my daughter something. I would also like to add, even though it may not sound it, for me it's more about the principle. She knew she was sending me links for things to buy her kids and she was aware that I was actually making it happen and she didn't even stop at Dollar General for mine. And then her response was just over the top to me. No apology or anything. So Aita for cutting her off. Stories number 39. Surgeon made fun of my penis. I, 32M at the time, am a big dude of 2M and 120 kilograms, 6 feet 6 inches, 250 pounds in drunk pirate units, and had to have surgery on my calves because of varicose veins. So the day of, I was told to get completely undressed and put on the generic open back gown, which due to my frame made me look like Donald Duck, if you know what I mean. I was led to the OR by a nurse and placed on a cold metal table. They administered some local anesthesia to my legs and after about 10 minutes laying naked in a cold, brightly lit room waiting to be sliced up, the 2 doctors strolled in. I was very anxious, cold, and self-conscious, so I just stayed still. Nurse, anesthesia was given, patient ready. Doc 1, walks to the table, wow, big fucker and such a small dick. Doc 2, haha. Me, what? Nurse, panic, oh no, you have the wrong patient file, this one isn't the fully sedated one. He is awake. Doc 1, Doc 2, me, what? So yeah, nobody said another word to me for the rest of the operation, just 200 decibels of awkward silence while they ripped veins out of me. It felt like Ricky Gervais wrote this scene. I should have walked out, but I was too shocked to even think. When they were done they exchanged quiet words with the nurse and quickly walked out. It was a bit shocking, but I quickly laughed it off. I mean, they weren't wrong, but man. Some people. Edit, this was 10 years ago, I am fine. Stories number 40. I opened up towards my GF and I think it destroyed my relationship with her. I've been lurking in this sub for a while and I often read how other men's relationship got destroyed when they opened up to their GF. I have the feeling that this is the case for me as well and I really don't know how to deal with it. Before my GF I was the type of guy who could sleep with multiple different women in a week and not feel a thing. Obviously I promised them the world on the outside but deep down I didn't feel a thing for them. I had the emotional capacity of a rock. But with her it changed. She is the very first person I care more about than myself and the first person I thought I could actually show true emotions towards. A little while ago the dog of my father's side, who I grew up with, died and I was alone with my GF and I just broke. It was the first time in years or even a decade that I cried. I just couldn't hold it anymore. Somehow this also opened up other things inside of me that I didn't deal with emotionally ever. Like for example that I basically grew up without a mom and the fact that I was very insecure about my body for a long time because of my weight, which made me go into the other direction later on where I do sports nearly every other day to never be overweight again. This whole venting felt really good but all my GF answered afterwards was, "Are you done? Then you better go to sleep," which I found pretty odd but didn't think too much about. Now ever since her attitude towards me changed. Before she regularly just vented about her work and day to me and asked me for advice. Sarah would tell me stories from when she was younger. She would randomly do cute little things for me. She doesn't do that anymore, like none of it. At first I really didn't know what I did and maybe if I am just overthinking it but since I saw this subreddit and read the experiences of other men it somehow clicked for me. I think I lost her respect ever since I opened up. What do I do in this situation? Is there a chance to make things right again? Because like I said she is the only person I ever opened up towards and I don't think I can get that same trust with anyone else again. Stories number 41. To fool by ruining my neighbor's daughter's night. So it's 11 p.m., dark outside, and I head out to pick up some late dinner. After 15 steps out of my apartment I see a girl dressed in all black reaching into my neighbor's window with all the lights off. Additionally, I noticed they took off the window screen and had it laying on the ground. I asked them, "Are you good?" To which they only replied with a weird arm gesture without saying anything at all. Spidey senses were tingling at this point and I just kept walking to my car. Something important to mention is that in my general area, there is a good share of drug addicts and homeless people, though she definitely didn't look homeless so I assumed the former. At this point alarm sirens were going off in my head, especially since she was so close to my own apartment. I called 911 and reported a possible break-in, described the details, and went on my way to pick up dinner. 15 minutes later when I get back, 2 policemen are at the door. I ask them what happened, and one of them says, laughingly, she was a daughter trying to sneak out. I can't put into words the embarrassment that came crashing over me. The lights were out and she didn't say anything to not wake anyone up. She probably just wanted a night with her boyfriend or whatever and I completely ruined it. TLDR, neighbor's daughter was trying to sneak out at night and at the moment it looked like a break-in to me, so I called 911. Regret ensues. Stories number 42. I, 32M, can't get over my wife, 29F, telling me she wants to open the marriage for only me, got an irreversible surgery to not have kids, and not wanting to be physically intimate anymore. How am I not supposed to get upset about this? I am just numb to everything right now. I don't even know what to type here other than I haven't been the same since she brought this up and the surgery made everything very real. It feels extremely out of left field and I am considering getting a divorce. I don't know if this was a mental episode that caused this or what. We are currently separated as she takes care of her dad who is in declining health in a completely different state. Also for anyone wondering, I have never cheated on her or anything of the sorts. I'm a monogamous person and only wanted her. Now, I'm not even allowed to hold her hand, give hugs, cuddle, etc. when I go to visit her. What am I supposed to do? She can take half of my pension because the military 50-50 rule for 10 plus years of marriage. That means she takes half of everything I have earned in my career if we divorced. I feel deflated. I need advice on what I could do, anything at all. This is way over my head in every capacity. What is some advice y'all can spare for me? Stories number 43. I went out with the guy I had great chemistry with, but he wasn't my type at all in appearance. So I've been off the dating flirting industry for a few months, just because I was tired of meeting people that I was not excited about. So I decided to focus on me for a while. During the holidays there were many parties and many acquaintances due to common friend groups etc. There were 2 to 3 people who showed interest but I wasn't in the mood to put any energy into it, so somehow they didn't move on and I was okay. But there was one guy, who I hadn't noticed, because I wasn't interested in him in appearance. I'll be perfectly honest so you understand what I'm saying. I'm not judging, and I mean to say that my weight is not normal, it's a little below normal, which made me attractive to people who like that specific body type. I don't like it either, but I'm trying to gain weight, and yes it's as serious a problem as those trying to lose. The guy I'm talking to is well above normal weight. We are just the opposite in appearance, but we had such nice conversations, he's smart and most of all I laugh a lot. The conversation flows easily, I don't put energy into it. He started flirting with great humor, he makes it easy for me to resend a message and start a conversation without much energy and thought. In general he makes it very easy for me and I laugh a lot. But I feel like there hasn't been anything sexual in my mind so far. He's very handsome in my eyes but I haven't thought of him as sexy. Do you think this is changing? He is the only person so far that our communication is so pleasant, but I don't know if it makes sense to go ahead, or to date him. Has your perspective on this ever changed? Did your perspective on sexiness ever changed? Notable comments. Commenter 1. You have nothing to lose, OP. Why not give it a try? Worst case scenario, it fizzles out. Best case scenario, it could develop into something. Reply, you sound exactly like my best friends, who by the way liked him very much. Face with tears of joy, that's probably what I'm gonna do. Commenter 2, if you plan on being with anyone with an extended period of time their appearance will change a lot. Sometimes, dramatically so. The item of concern should be whether his appearance is evidence of bad habits that will cause problems in the relationship. Lacking that, you should date him and permit yourself to love him. At that point sex become relevant. Commenter 3, it depends. If you're serious about your health and want to take action to become a healthier person, then it's important to find someone with a similar goal. Speak to him and see if he shares your goals, or see what his views are on exercise and healthy, balanced meals. Maybe you're both moving towards the same goal, in which case you could do it together. Bodies can transform with effort and resolve. Side story. My friend started dating a guy whose physical appearance she wasn't into, but she found him so cute. He started working out with her and now he's literally something else. Update. An update I made a month and a half ago. Unfortunately can't post it with the link. I got a lot of useful advice and opinions, so I decided to go out with the guy who was overweight and I didn't know if this would cause an obstacle to my sexual attraction towards him. The first date was perfect. He put so much energy into it that I decided to go out for a second one. There he kissed me and the truth is that I felt very nice, but the sexual attraction had not yet clearly developed. After a few dates the sexual attraction started. We eventually had sex and while the first time was very nice I didn't feel any fireworks. However my main criteria was how much he was making me laugh and that made me wanting to see him all the time. A month later things have come a long way. We are having sex 2 to 3 times a day, so sexual attraction is definitely there, we are having a good time and we have both agreed that it's not just sexual and we want to start a relationship. I feel safe, seen, that I am cared for and that things can be enthusiastic and pleasant, without drama, without crying, without negativity. I think about what I would have missed if I hadn't gone on that date. So yes, if I can answer the question I asked almost 2 months ago, yes, physical attraction can be created and you don't have to feel it from the first minute. Just give the time and space to people, they make you feel nice. You never know. For now I feel so happy like I've hit the jackpot on dating. Notable comments. Commenter 1. Don't ever tell him that you thought he was ugly. Don't even give the slightest hint. Reply. Never said he was ugly. Actually I thought he was very handsome from the moment I saw him. I just didn't feel any sexual attraction from the beginning and was scared that I won't overcome this. Well, definitely got past this. Commenter 2. I might be part of the minority for saying this, but it sounds like you're trying to convince yourself for liking this guy. I mean, you can probably find the same compatibility with a guy you're actually into instead of trying to actively convince yourself, otherwise you wouldn't have posted this on Reddit. Whatever your decision is, it's only a matter of time until someone else catches your eye and you'll have doubts. And then you'll convince yourself whether you actually like this guy or give the new one a chance. If the fireworks aren't there, no biggie. It doesn't make you a bad person. Personally, I wouldn't pursue something with someone I don't like that way no matter what effort they make. Waste of time. Reply. Actually I couldn't find this compatibility with anyone else. That's the point. Otherwise I wouldn't have had a doubt. It was very clear I didn't want to date anyone, he just clicked. I was just scared that sexual attraction would not have developed as I didn't feel it the night we met. But as one of my friends said, thank God I didn't want to jump on him the moment I saw him. That would have destroyed everything. P.S. When you invest in people, do you really leave just because someone caught your eye? Reply, I mean before we met, I don't think I'd be his first choice in a room full of random but really beautiful women. I may be the last. I only care that now, after we created the connection, he makes me think that in that room I would be his first and only choice. Stories number 44. Aita for cutting out one of my best friends and removing her as a bridesmaid after she slept with another best friend's ex. Throwaway because I use Reddit and also this might be a lot so I apologize. I, 28F, am getting married this summer. I have 7 bridesmaids. 2 of them are my best friends from college, Annie and Mary. We met in a sorority and have all been best friends since. Mary was dating Pat for 4 years. They met a little bit after college and were living together. They broke up in early January. It was agreed upon. They wanted different things. Both of them are religious and neither wanted to convert. Mary has been vocal about being child-free since I've known her. Pat really wants kids. You get the picture. It was still incredibly hard on both of them. Mary calls both Annie and I a lot when she's crying and having a hard time. Mary ended up moving back in with her parents briefly while Pat stayed in their apartment. I had a Galentine's night out with a bunch of girlfriends a few weeks ago and of course Mary and Annie were there. We all got pretty drunk and Annie left to go for a appointment, according to her. Annie was on her phone a lot that night and being sort of reserved. A few girls can collaborate this story. Well, about a week ago, Mary was by the apartment with Pat to pick up some more things. Pat told Mary, because he felt incredibly guilty, that the night of Galentine's, he was with his friends watching the fights. Annie was Snapchatting him. They've known each other for a while so it's not exactly weird for them to have each other on Snap and it's not weird for Annie to reach out and ask how he's doing. I guess Annie started flirting with him. Then she started snapping pics up her dress while we were out. Pat said he was drinking and made a mistake but he had Annie come over and they had sex. The appointment Annie went on was with Pat. The fallout has been crazy. Mary has gone NC with the group as a whole. Annie keeps crying but also switching between she feels bad and they broke up a month ago. She says it's a one-time mistake. But this was Mary's BF of 4 years. They broke up a month ago which doesn't seem like much time at all. I've decided I'm removing Annie not only from my wedding party but from my wedding in general. I have a cousin or my fiancé has a younger sister who can fill in as a bridesmaid. After all we've been through, I can't believe she would do that to her best friend. She didn't even say anything. Pat was the one who confessed. Stories number 45. My coworker, 18M, put me, 22F, on a "hear me out" cake and posted it online. Do I take action in some way? I work at a diner as a waitress with this kid, let's call him John. John has always seemed pretty chill and busses my tables. Sometimes we chat if we are closing together, usually about school, as he started college not too long ago and I am almost graduated with my BA. Ultimately, we are friendly but not friends. Last week he said that he was part of a group chat with a handful of other coworkers on Instagram and asked if I wanted to join. I said sure because I haven't connected with people at the diner that well and figured it was worth a shot. We swapped Instas. The group chat is very normal, friendly banter between coworkers. Yesterday, I see that John posted a reel of him and a couple of his buddies doing their take on a "hear me out" cake, which is usually a very light-hearted and funny way of saying you would get with what are typically fictional and mostly animated characters. The entire cake adhered to that concept, except toward the end, when my face, a picture that he must have screenshotted from one of my posts, is stuck on the cake. I was the only real person on that cake, and John actually made a comment about how attractive I was and that he wished that he could hit that, but doubts he has a chance. I feel insanely grossed out and kind of violated. I want the video taken down, but am not sure if I have the right or authority to do that. I ranted about this to my sister, and she told me to just take it as a compliment and be glad that someone thinks I am pretty. It feels wrong doing that. Is this grounds for taking this issue to higher ups? I don't know if I am comfortable working with him at the moment. Do I just take care of this myself and tell him that it makes me uncomfortable and I want him to take it down? It is a public video. I am just uncertain how to move forward. Stories number 46. I called him back over 100 times for the next hour, so I get a lot of phone calls like everyone else. But this guy called me twice in a row so I called him back because it's my work phone. I tried to tell me that I won the publishing SP clearinghouse. I told him I would split the $5 million with him if he could just tell me my name, which I told him when he answered. He still got it wrong and I laughed at him. We cussed each other out for a few seconds before he hung up on me, but I was just getting warmed up. I proceeded to call him back over 100 times for the next hour. He would answer every so often and cuss me out and threaten me before hanging up. I stopped for now, but I saved his number in my phone. I will be calling him periodically just to harass him. And before anyone says I am wasting my time, this is something I actually get a lot of enjoyment out of. It's free entertainment as far as I'm concerned. Stories number 47. Whipped for using my pregnancy to get out of my brother's wedding. My 26, brother, David 24, is getting married this May and I will be about 35 weeks pregnant at the time of the wedding. I should start by saying that my husband, Sean 28, and I are both in the wedding party. But I don't want to go because my parents, Betty and Jack, will both be in attendance. For context, after college I thought I wanted to study to be a lawyer like my mother, Betty. I now realize this was manipulation on my parents' end of pushing me to make a lot of money, and to do what my mom did instead of me chasing my dreams, but at the time I was convinced that this is what I wanted. I got accepted to a law school in Hawaii, which my parents were super happy about. Sean and I were married for about 2 years at this point and were super broke with lots of college debt between us. To compensate, Sean found a better paying job close to where we currently lived and was going to help support me in Hawaii with his new salary. My parents hated this idea and was yelling at both of us that this was a stupid decision, and Sean needed to move with me and find a job there that could support us. At the time this was not reasonable because of the line of work my husband was in, there were no high-paying jobs there in his field that could support us financially. We went forward with our plan anyways, and as I was in the process of getting my things together, I got a call from Jack. He said he was so mad that if Sean ever stepped foot on his property again, he would be unlived. Sean overheard this. I hung up, and we both cried because he loved my parents like they were his own, and was crushed that my dad would say something like that. Long story short, I moved to Hawaii and into the school dorms, but dropped out before the first day of classes because something in my gut told me I did not want to be a lawyer at all. When my parents found this out, I got more threats and messages about how this was all Sean's fault and that, if he moved with me then I would want to stay and be a lawyer. I also got told to think about the money you would be making after graduation. From there on I moved back with Sean and we found a cute apartment together. We both went no contact with my parents, and I am now in a very satisfying career that I want to do for the long term. That was about 2 years ago and we're still no contact with my parents. We haven't tried reaching out to them, and they haven't tried reaching out to us either. And I would prefer that. After going no contact and working with a therapist, I realized my parents are narcissistic abusers who were manipulating me and David for our whole lives. Sean is also very traumatized that Jack is going to find us in public and beat him up or unalive him because I didn't go to law school. My parents are aggressive people and I don't think they would do anything like that, but I hate that my parents made Sean feels this way to begin with. David has tried to go no contact with my parents before, but is currently forced to be around them because my parents sued my brother for grandparents' rights of my nephew last year, and they won. Now he has to see them for 1 weekend per month per court order. Since then, he's been able to tolerate them a little more. Back to now, I'm currently 23 weeks pregnant with our first child, and I'm terrified that there's a scenario where everyone is in the same room at the same time. Sean doesn't want to attend the wedding at all, but when I bring up our fears and anxieties with David, he states that he will be packing too if Jack tries to start something, which doesn't make me feel better at all. David doesn't see this as a valid excuse to miss his wedding. I'm sad that it's come to this because Sean and I have been there for my brother through really hard times when my parents left him to fend for himself. We've been through a lot together and I want to be there to support him. But Sean's trauma behind everything that's happened matters way more to me, and I honestly want nothing to do with my parents anymore after that. I'm thinking about just telling David that we still plan to go, but as the time gets closer, use my pregnancy as an excuse to not travel to the wedding, about a 5-hour drive for us. Whipped for doing this? Or should I just come clean and lay it all out? My fear in doing that is that David will uninvite my parents so Sean and I feel safe to attend, and then my parents getting more mad and actually starting something with us since they know where and when the wedding is taking place. Either way, Sean and I have no intention of attending this wedding. Any advice on how to move forward is appreciated. Stories number 48. Next level of men walking at you and refusing to move. I was riding on a bridle way earlier, which means it's a route that's open to the public to walk on either on foot or by horse. This particular bridleway also is very clearly signposted as one and has clear signs that horses regularly use it. This track is wide enough that 2 people could walk side by side together, with space for a horse the other side. I was riding down, saw 3 men walking towards me and immediately moved the horse I was riding over to one side. Two of the men immediately moved to the opposite side. The other man who was approaching on the same side I'd moved over to didn't do this too, but continued walking straight at the horse. Even though I had no room to move further over on one side and there was enough space for a human but not a horse towards the middle of the path where his friends moved. He must have ended up about 2 feet away from this horse's face and just walking straight at me. I genuinely think he would have walked straight into this horse's face if his friend hadn't pulled him over towards them. It also reminded me of a time just over a year ago when I had a broken ankle and was at a hospital appointment. I was wobbling round on crutches, tried to go through a door and a man almost walked through me until the woman he was with got him out of my way. Stories number 49. I told my barber the truth and now I'm his favorite customer. I, 22F, have been getting my head shaved every 2 days by the same barber. He always does it for free using a blade razor to make sure my scalp is perfectly smooth. I never told him I had cancer, but I could tell he assumed I did from the way he treated me. He was always so careful and kind. Today, I finally told him the truth. While he was lathering my scalp with shaving foam, I casually said, "You know, I'm never growing my hair again." He paused for a second, then smiled. "Really?" I nodded. "Yeah, I actually didn't shave because of cancer. I just love how it feels." He stared at me for a moment, then suddenly started laughing. "I thought so," he said. "You look way too happy every time you come in." We both laughed, and I admitted I noticed his extra kindness, but I never wanted to correct him because I love how he shaves me. He just shook his head and said, "Well, now you're my permanent customer." And honestly, I'm fine with that. The shave felt even more detailed than usual. He took his time, made sure there wasn't a single rough spot, and gave me the smoothest shave ever. To show my appreciation I paid him more than what he usually charges and even paid in advance for the whole month. He deserved it. Meanwhile, I still visit a roadside barber every day for a 150 pkr head massage. He applies some kind of cream that feels hot and cold at the same time, and it is honestly the most relaxing part of my day. He also cleans my ears for free, which isn't common for women here, but I guess I'm a regular now. Thank you all for taking the time to read my story. I appreciate it.